is on Sportsnet. Presented by the all-new Honda Civic Type R, like no Honda you've ever seen.
Beautiful day here in Boston. The Blue Jays in town to begin a 4-game series against the Red Sox. Eduardo Rodriguez comes off the DL to make the start for Boston tonight. Left-hander. As we take a look at the lineup, John Gibbons has written in there tonight to kick off this 4-game set. As always, Jose Bautista leading off. Russell Martin in the 2 spot for the Blue Jays. Both of those players taking a lot of walks recently, and Russell Martin swinging the bat well recently as well, hitting .345 with some power in his last 7 games. And Justin Smoak just continues his terrific year. He's hammered lefties. He's done very well against the Red Sox this year, homered yesterday in Detroit. We'll see what he has in store for Blue Jays fans tonight against Eduardo Rodriguez.
Eduardo Rodriguez is 24 years old. He's just coming off the disabled list. He last pitched on June 1st, and it didn't go so well. He actually injured his knee warming up for that start against Baltimore and gave up 4 home runs in that game. For the season, he's 4-2. And you can see he is tough on right-handers because he's got that good fastball. He can tie him up inside with his fastball. Lefties, it's a different story. He is a young prospect they have high hopes for, and he was acquired July 31st, 2014. That trade deadline we're getting closer and closer to.
Just a couple of weeks away. See what the Red Sox are up to. They will obviously be buyers, you would imagine, leading the American League East right now. 3 games ahead of the Tampa Bay Rays. Yankees 3.5 back. Blue Jays and Orioles both 9 back. As Jose Bautista steps in to lead it off here tonight. Bautista hitting .233 on the season, 16 home runs, an on-base percentage of .348. In the leadoff spot, an on-base percentage of .384. First of 4, 3 night games, then a day game on Thursday. And underway with a swing and a foul back, 0-1.
Well, Bautista had thoughts of hitting a home run in his first at bat here on the first pitch. He did that against Rodriguez last June 5th right here at Fenway. Part of a 4-homer game for the Blue Jays.
And there's that fastball in on his hands that you were talking about. Nothing Bautista can do with that except hit it foul.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Right-handed hitters in general have become basically out over the plate hitters. They don't really handle the inside pitch so much because they have to deal with the sliders and the changeups and the splitters. So if you as a left-hander can get the fastball inside to these good right-handed hitters, you can have a lot of success, especially if you could command the strike zone inside.
Rodriguez out in front, 0-2. Lights on here at Fenway. Most of the field in shadows right now. Just some sunlight out in certain areas of the outfield as Bautista does not check his swing on the appeal down to first. Umpire Mike Everett rings him up. Defensively, a lot of range in the outfield for the Red Sox with Benintendi, Bradley, and Betts, Holt, Bogarts, Pedroia, and Moreland on the infield, and strong-armed Christian Vasquez behind the plate.
Right now, I think Jackie Bradley Jr. is the best center fielder in the American League. I think he's got the lead in the Gold Glove category this season. He made a terrific catch here last night, robbing Aaron Judge of a home run. He's got terrific range. He rarely leaves his feet, and he gets great breaks on contact in center field.
Well, that was some kind of a catch that he made on Aaron Judge last night. Here's Russell Martin, who takes a cutter inside, and it's a ball and a strike. Martin hitting .239 home runs on the season. He too taking a lot of walks. The on base percentage at .372. Blue Jays coming off a series against the Tigers in which they won the first game. They were blown out on Saturday, and then they lost a tough one yesterday. Let a lead slip away in the 8th, and then Lucas Harrell walking in the eventual winning run in extra innings as the Tigers win 6-5. And there's a base hit into right center field for Martin. Bradley will cut it off to hold Martin to a 1-out single.
Well, he mentioned the great catch Jackie Bradley Jr. made last night, and it was a 3-0 score at the time with a runner at first, and Judge looks like He's hit a 2-run home run to make it a 1-run game. But not so fast, says Jackie Bradley Jr. Right in the deepest part of this ballpark in front of their 420-foot sign. He takes one away from Aaron Judge. Everybody on the field was excited, and look at Jackie Bradley. Just part of his daily routine. No emotion whatsoever. He can really cover a lot of ground in center.
1 out, 1 on for the Blue Jays. Top of the first, here's Josh Donaldson, hitting .254, 9 home runs. Rodriguez eyeing Martin, who has a short lead, and Donaldson pops one out of play off to the right. And look out, the home plate umpire, Chris Siegel, perhaps on the backswing because Donaldson doesn't have the bat. Donaldson may have lost control of the bat, and it went back and hit Siegel. And the other umpires immediately rushing in to check on Siegel. Here comes a member of the training staff for the Red Sox. Donaldson right in there looking on with a lot of concern as well.
Obviously, everybody was following the ball off the bat and didn't really notice what had happened at home plate. But Donaldson doesn't have the bat. He lost contact with that on his swing, and we're not really sure how the bat came out of his hand or how it struck the umpire. But it certainly knocked him to the ground.
Let's get a look. Right out of his hands and hit Siegel on the left side of the head. Man.
Yeah, and the umpires don't wear helmets like many of the catchers. You see, the catcher's got the helmet underneath his mask. Not so for the umpire. Christian Vasquez sensed right away that Siegel was in trouble. That bat slips. Watch how his bottom hand comes off and goes right around and hits the umpire on top of the head. Well, he can laugh about it now, and that's a good sign. But it's kind of interesting that all the catchers wear batting helmets underneath their mask, but the umpires choose not to.
How often have you seen that where an umpire gets hit
not
by
very
a
often.
bat?
No. You know what? You see a lot of games, obviously, we both have, and I've not seen that before, where he got hit right on top of the head. And he's fortunate that he looks like he's going to be able to continue. Mike Everett in the foreground there is the crew chief of this umpiring crew. Donaldson, of course, happy that Siegel is okay.
Well, he's a lucky guy. That could have been a lot worse than it was. And good to see him smiling and talking with one of the other umpires and able to stay in this game.
You know, and it's something that you always think about and say, well, I've never seen that before. Well, why wouldn't the umpires wear a batting helmet? Just carry a black batting helmet with them, much like the catchers do. If you choose not to wear the hockey style catcher's mask, then you need some protection, and I think that's going to send a message that'll spread around the umpiring crew all over the league.
Meanwhile, Eduardo Rodriguez given the chance to throw a couple of warm-up pitches because of the delay. Siegel will dust off the plate. Looks ready to go, and we'll get back to the Donaldson at bat here with the Martin at first and 1 out, top of the first. Eduardo Rodriguez, making his first start, as Buck mentioned, came off the DL today, suffered a right knee injury on June the 2nd, warming up, or June the 1st rather, warming up for his start against Baltimore. Fell off the bullpen mound awkwardly, hurt his knee, still went out and pitched the game. Got knocked around a lot, gave up 7 earned runs in 5 2/3, and went on the DL the next day with that knee injury. Made 3 rehab starts in the last couple of weeks, activated off the DL today, and Rodriguez has had 3 significant injuries in his career, Buck. They've all been to his right knee, and they've all been kind of mishaps like that, where things have happened, but there's no denying how the Red Sox feel about the talent in his left arm.
Yeah, his initial knee injury occurred in the winter ball of Venezuela. It's just carried into the regular season.
Laced foul into the seats. There was also talk a couple of years ago that he was tipping his pitches, that teams had his pitches. But again, great raw talent, 17 and 15, a 4.10 ERA in his career. You mentioned only 24, still looking to put it together. And the Red Sox feel this is almost like they made a trade, getting this guy back right now in the middle of July. Obviously, everybody knows what they have in Chris Sale. David Price is pitching better. He went 8 very strong innings last night. Rick Porcello is pitching better than he was earlier in the year. 2-2 the count on Donaldson.
It's kind of interesting the makeup of the rotation. Now they have 4 starters that are left-handed, and you wonder if John Farrell is going to stick with that plan with Pomerantz and Sale and Price, and now Rodriguez is back. I tell you what, Chris Sale can pitch on anybody's staff. I don't care which arm he throws with.
Yeah. Blue Jays caught a break even before the series began. Sale's been pushed back from Thursday to Friday, so the Blue Jays won't see him here this week. 2-2, swing and a miss by Donaldson, 2 down.
And again, a couple of strikeouts to start the game for Rodriguez. He got Bautista on a high fastball. Vasquez slides to the outside corner, another high heater. And he's got that good fastball, the 4-seam fastball. He can elevate it and get it inside. We talk about his dominance over the right-handed hitters, and we've seen that early with Bautista and Donaldson both striking out here in the first.
So with 2 down now, the batter will be Justin Smoak, 290, a career high 24 home runs on the season, and just tearing it up against lefties this year, hitting .384 this season against left-handed pitching.
Now this is his natural side. He began switch hitting about 12 years old as a kid, and he always felt like he had to have the same swing from both sides of the plate, and he's gotten away from that, and that's helped him to free up this right-handed swing this year. You know, when you travel around and you hear everybody talk, what's going on with Smoak?
Yeah.
Why is he all of a sudden turning it around? This is his 8th season. I think more than anything, he's just more patient and more selective. He's not chasing balls.
That's the feeling of the Blue Jay coaching staff as well. Not afraid to get into deep counts. Trusting his ability to hit with 2 strikes on him. Using the whole field from both sides of the plate. Hitting for a lot of power to the opposite field. And now the count 3-0 as Rodriguez falls behind. Martin at first. 2 down in the inning. Just underway in the first of 4 here at Fenway. First time the Blue Jays have been at Fenway Park this season. How strange is that? All 3 of their series here happening after the All-Star break. In for a strike, 3-1.
Yeah, it's the first time it's happened since '97, where they didn't start their first series until after the All-Star break. That's really unusual.
You should like rent a condo here or something for the second half of the year. You're going to be here a lot.
Second half, they're going to be here twice in September, I believe, and that'll be interesting with expanded rosters.
Smoak took the 3-0. See if he gets one he likes on 3-1. Down low, ball 4. 2 men on with Kendrys Morales coming up. It's a great baseball town. Everybody knows that. And they've had a lot of success recently winning the World Series after that 86-year drought, winning the World Series in 04, 07, 13, packing Fenway. As always, in first place right now in the American League East, second best record in the league behind only Houston, and looking like bit by bit, piece by piece, they're starting to put it together. They haven't swung the bats well recently, and they have lost 6 of their last 9. They don't have that anchor in the middle of the lineup, that big poppy type power hitter, but they're still 3 games up on the Rays in the American League East. Morales, 0-1.
Another fastball, and you can see how he gets it right on the inside corner. Rodriguez, even though he just walked Smoak to put 2 aboard, he comes right back with that fastball on the first pitch. He's got a lot of confidence in his heater. Originally signed by the Orioles, 17 years old, out of Venezuela. You know, this time of the year, everybody's looking around saying, well, who can trade and who's going to get the Eduardo Rodriguez of this year? At the time of the trade, he was 3-7 in AA with a 4.79 ERA. He wasn't lighting it up by any means.
Way out in front, 0-2 on Morales. And the fastball just high. Vasquez actually came up out of his crouch a little bit to catch that ball.
Vasquez was decoying the Blue Jays. He wanted, watch him motion down. Down, 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 down. And that's all the decoy because he wants this fastball up. And he stands up and it's too high. But Vasquez aware that Blue Jays are always looking to gain an edge. Trying to decoy him with that side.
Morales hits a bullet to left, high off the monster. 1 run is home, and as it bounces past Benintendi, now Smoke is getting the wave and will be safe. The ball squirts out of the glove of Vasquez, and Kendrys Morales drives in a couple to give the Blue Jays a first-inning lead.
Well, the Blue Jays have been so hard-pressed to come up with big hits, but there's a big hit in the first inning of this 4-game series. Smoke scores from first. Russell Martin scored easily. Morales hits it up on the green monster. It's another fastball. He gets to it. Drives it about halfway up the green monster. Jackie Bradley Jr. really makes a heck of a play coming over from center and makes it close with a strong throw to the plate. Vasquez didn't come up with the ball cleanly. When he dove back into the baseline, he didn't have the baseball, and Smoke scored all the way from first.
So RBIs number 50 and 51 for Morales, an early 2-0 lead for the Blue Jays. And here's Troy Tulowitzki. Boy, after a couple of strikeouts and being ahead of Smoke 0-2, Smoke takes a close pitch, or Morales rather takes a close pitch for ball 1 and then doubles off the monster. The Blue Jays rallying after a couple of outs in this inning and striking first, as they did yesterday, mind you, in Detroit. Got 3 in the first inning yesterday, gave them right back. Hoping for a good outing from the guy who's been their best starting pitcher on the year in Marcus Stroman tonight. And the pitch count climbing for Rodriguez, 23 already in his return from the DL. Tulowitzki in a strange one, Buck, hitting .244 overall, but against lefties hitting just .148. A right-handed batter who's really struggled against lefties this year.
Again, it's the trend around baseball where pitchers, especially right-handers, have made the right-handed hitters be so aware of the outer 3/4 of the plate. And anybody that can get the fastball inside the right-handed hitters can have a lot of success. Left-handers like Rodriguez that can run it in there can really tie him up, and I think you're seeing a lot of left-handers throwing that hard fastball and breaking ball inside to these right-handed hitters.
When you face lefties, did you prefer the ball in or away?
No, I didn't care where it was. I just was trying to hit it. I only played against lefties.
That's true. Yeah, that's a fair point.
But like with Tulowitzki now, and you know, they have just made such a habit of hitting that outer 3/4 with the splitter and the slider and the changeup. So many pitches are away.
I'll look back at Morales, and the 1-2 is swinging a ground ball to short. Bogarts on the run in time to get him and end the inning. But the Blue Jays get a couple. Kendrys Morales hits one off the monster for a 2-run double. Justin Smoke sliding in with the 2nd run of the inning. Look at Chris Siegel to see if any damage was done when the Donaldson bat flew out of his hands, hit him on the left side of the head, but again seems okay. And good news is he will stay in the game. Here's a look at the starting lineup for the Red Sox tonight. They are last in the American League in home runs. Hard to believe that. They don't have a ton of power, but they've got a lot of professional quality hitters, including Dustin Pedroia, who's got very good career numbers in his career against Marcus Stroman and has been driving in a lot of runs lately. And Xander Bogaerts has even better numbers in his career against Stroman. So those are a couple of guys to keep an eye on here tonight.
Tonight, Marcus Stroman is making his 75th career start. It's his 19th start of the season. He's got a good 9-5 record and a very impressive ERA. He lost to the Red Sox here, not here, but in Rogers Center on April 18th, just 4 2/3 innings. And they worked him over pretty good. He had a 2-0 lead in the first, just like this game tonight. That was against Brian Johnson, and Morales and Smoke both drove in runs in the first inning, staking to an early lead, but he wasn't able to make it stand up for his career. He's 4-2 in 8 starts against the Red Sox.
Mookie Betts leads it off, and the Red Sox right fielder takes down and in for ball 1. Betts, as was the case last year, hitting for power, driving in runs, stealing bases. Maybe not having quite the year he did last year when he was runner-up for American League MVP, but still one of the most dangerous and I think all-round talented. You talk about 5-tool players, guys who can hit for power, hit for average, run, throw, and play defense. He can do it all. Bounces one to the right of Tulowitzki, who unloads in a hurry and gets him with a very accurate throw.
Well, nobody does it better throwing on the run than Troy Tulowitzki. Going in the hole, he knew he didn't have any time to set his feet because Betts runs so well. And he throws on the run, accurate, right on the money. Not much tail on that ball as you would expect when he throws sidearm like that, but he's doing this for years. And as I said, nobody makes this play better than Troy Tulowitzki.
So good play by Tulowitzki. One down here in the bottom of the first for Dustin Pedroia, hitting over 300 on the season, and he's driven in 18 runs in his last 17 games, 43 overall. And as we mentioned just moments ago, 7 for 15 in his career against Marcus Stroman. And a ground ball over the head of Stroman. Charging Tulowitzki, bare hands, and makes another good play.
Well, 2 plays, 2 red stars in the book already for Troy Tulowitzki, and you know you're going to get a lot of action on the infield with Stroman pitching. He throws that sinking fastball. It's a lot of ground balls. This looks like it's going to be a base hit all the way. Bouncing ball over the mound, a do-or-die barehanded grab by Tulowitzki. And he has made 2 fine plays in support of Marcus Stroman already in this ballgame.
And good news for Stroman early to see the ball being hit on the ground. Nobody gets more ground balls than Marcus Stroman. And when the ball is on the ground, it tends to correlate very highly with him having a successful night. Good start, 2 up, 2 down on grounders. Now for Xander Bogaerts, the shortstop. Sometimes overshadowed a little bit. Pedroia is a big name. Mookie Betts is a superstar. Hanley Ramirez, a big name, but Xander Bogaerts just keeps quietly trucking along, hitting near 300. Not a huge power hitter, but can use the whole field, line to line, gap to gap. And again, has been a thorn in the side for Stroman. And Marcus may not know that Bogaerts is exactly 10 for 20, but he knows that Bogaerts has done some damage against him.
Yeah, and he has hit the ball all over the field against Marcus. And in the last time he pitched against him, he had a base hit to right field. He just goes with whatever is presented. He's in a little bit of a mini slump. He's batting .299 for his last 7. And he had the second game of the doubleheader off last night, but he's back in there against Stroman because of his success against Marcus. When you flirt with 300 as a hitter, obviously you don't tend to become a one-sided hitter by any means, and that's what Bogaerts does. He uses the whole field. He will spray the ball all over the diamond. Most of the hits go to left, but you can see he's got a fair amount of hits to center and right as well.
Look Look at the break on that slider as it sweeps way off the plate. Stroman strikes out Bogarts, and he gets the Red Sox in order.
Log into My Blue Jays and enter the code MBJ2390 to earn My Blue Jays points just for watching the broadcast. The entry box can be found on your My Blue Jays homepage. Code must be entered by 4 a.m. and you can look for a new code tomorrow.
Arash, thank you. During the break, Chris Siegel, the home plate umpire, and Mike Eber, the crew chief, disappeared down into the first base dugout, and we started wondering, well, maybe Siegel's feeling some ill effects. They're going to take him out and move Everett behind the plate, but he popped out of the top steps and just came right back just as the break ended. So again, they're continuing. It appears that the situation is being monitored, but that Siegel is okay.
Yeah, Siegel is 35 years old. He is officially what they call a minor league call-up umpire to come up and fill in for vacations or injuries, and he's one of many that are on that list, and we have seen several substitutions. But one of the younger umpires, and it's good to see he's back behind home plate. Obviously, every chance he gets in the big leagues is something special for him.
2-0 Blue Jays. We go to the top of the second. Kendrys Morales with a 2-run double in the first. And Steve Pearce leads off the second with a ball hit well foul down the left field line. Pearce hitting .271, 7 homers on the season, hitting .361 since he came off the disabled list. It'll be Pearce, Pilar, and Barney, the bottom third of the Blue Jay lineup, due up here in the second.
Pearce hasn't hit as well against left-handed pitching as the Blue Jays had hoped coming into this game, batting just .244. For his career, he's always been much more effective against lefties, and that was the thought, that he might platoon with Justin Smoak at first base, going all the way back to spring training. But that idea has long since disappeared.
And he launches one to deep left field, and it is not coming back. Home run number 8 as Steve Pearce stays hot, and the Blue Jays now lead 3-0.
Well, he mentioned in his last start in the big leagues, Eduardo Rodriguez gave up 4 home runs. Just the second time he's given up 4 in a game. The first time he did it was to the Blue Jays. Steve Pearce is swinging the hot bat, had a home run in Detroit, had 3 hits in that game, and that's a good sign for the Blue Jays. Get the offense on a roll a little bit in the first game of this 4-game series.
Lots of smiles in that third base dugout right now. The Blue Jays off to a quick start against Rodriguez. Number 8 on the season for Pearce. And now the batter, Kevin Pilar. And a fastball in at the knees, 0-1. Pilar hitting .251 on the season, 10 homers, 22 driven in. And Rodriguez misses badly up and away for ball one.
Pierce in the Detroit series was 4 for 9 in his 3 games. That home run was a solo shot. And he was one of the few Blue Jays that had a good offensive series in the 3 games.
Well, he's certainly doing his job since he came off the DL.
Boy, he's streaky, and once he gets hot, it's tough to cool him off. He's one of the few right-handed hitters in this lineup that can really get to that inside fastball. You see, he doesn't use a leg kick. He doesn't lift his front foot. He keeps it grounded. He just kind of pushes back to gather momentum, get that swing started. Stays flat, trusts his hands to get to the ball. Watch his front foot, just a very slight movement, and uses his hands to get the barrel of that baseball. As soon as he hit it, he knew it was gone. Just a matter of whether it was going to stay fair or not.
He had hit one foul in the first pitch of the at bat, so he wanted to make sure, look this one over, and Benintendi hardly moved out in left field. 2-2 on Pilar. Pilar has walked 24 times this year. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it already matches a career high in about 70 games to go in the season. So Pilar showing a little bit more patience this year than he has the last couple of years. Count now full.
Early on in the season, when he got up to such a great start, he was hitting over 300. He was doing a great job of not chasing pitches, and then he got in a little bit of a rut where he was swinging, just trying to hunt base hits instead of hunting good pitches. And I think he's now working back into that mode of getting good pitches to hit before he commits.
Started off as the leadoff hitter down at the bottom of the order the last several weeks since Jose Bautista was moved up to the leadoff spot. Vasquez fires a C down to first to get Pilar one down.
One of the real strengths of this Red Sox club is the tandem they have behind the plate in Christian Vasquez and Sandy León. They have both now started 47 games for the season, and they've both thrown out 33% of the base stealers. I mean, their numbers are almost identical, so you really don't lose anything. One starts one night, other night stays fresh. I think it's a great combination, and baseball, I think, now has become a 2-catcher sport.
Number 9 hitter tonight for the Blue Jays, second baseman Darwin Barney. He has faced Eduardo Rodriguez once in his career, and he homered off him. This year overall hitting .227, but .341 in his last 12 starts.
He heard you talking about that home run.
Maybe it's just an illusion that it seems like the right-handed batters pull the ball here more. You know, how can you not think about trying to hit one over the monster? It's big. It's right in front of you, only 310 feet, allegedly 310 feet down the left field line. Now Barney will go the other way, bats back with lots of room for the second out.
Yeah, it's really a challenge for visiting ball players to come in here and not get pull happy, because you see that green monster. It appears to be just a fly ball to knock it out of here, but it takes more than that. Rodriguez has pitched very well in this ballpark in 3 starts this season, but he's off to a rough start tonight.
He did strike out Bautista to begin the ball game. As Jose comes up for the second time tonight. And a slider in for a strike, 0-1. Blue Jays in the midst of a 10-game road trip, lost 2 out of 3 in Detroit. Tonight marks the beginning of a 4-game series here, and then it's 3 against the Central Division leading Cleveland Indians. Although the Indians are kind of 2 steps forward, 1 step back this year, not having the kind of year they did a year ago, but with each game getting closer and closer to the July 31st deadline, so much talk around Blue Jays Nation is, you know, do they still have time to make a run, to get back into it, to motivate management to go out and make a deal or two? But boy, with each passing series that they lose or split, they're just losing touch a little bit more with the wild card leaders right now.
Yeah, they've got to get hot.
Yeah.
There's no question about it. You've got to win 6 of these 7 games on the road if you have any thoughts at all of the postseason.
On the one hand, you could say, well, they're only 5.5 out, but on the other hand, they're a There's a whole bunch of teams between them in the wild card spot.
Yeah, and you got to pass a bunch of teams. You're in last place, tied with the Orioles, and you just have to string together a long winning streak, and it starts right here in this series. To me, if you're going to make a statement, you do this as a team right here against the Red Sox.
Rodriguez behind 3-1 on Bautista. And shaking off Vasquez to the point where Jose steps out. And the pitch. Slider on 3-1. Swing and a miss, full count.
Yeah, Vasquez aware that Blue Jays have been on that fastball, at least trying to catch up to that heater. He comes with a 3-1 slider and had Bautista out in front.
44 pitches thrown already by Rodriguez through an inning and 2/3. And again, Bautista will ask for time. Now Vasquez is staring at him as if to say, well, we didn't take that long that time. But you'll wait for Bautista to get back in. We'll see if Vasquez and Rodriguez can agree. They do. And it's out of play.
Well, Rodriguez had 3 minor league rehab starts, so his pitch count is up there. He can probably give you 100 pitches at least tonight in his first start back. And remember that the Red Sox got a pretty good start last night from David Price, who went 8 innings, so their bullpen is relatively rested considering they played 4 games in 3 days against the Yankees.
Boy, did they have a busy weekend, including a 16-inning game on Saturday. It's held on to by Vasquez. Foul tip, strikeout, as Bautista strikes out for the 2nd time tonight. But the Blue Jays add to their lead on a no-doubter over the monster, number 8 on the season for Steve Pearce. And it's 3-0 Blue Jays.
You may not know about Tulowitzki is that he's actually a huge tennis fan. He's attended Rogers Cup the last couple of years, admires Roger Federer and Novak Djokovic, and like so many in the sports world, he saw Federer win his 8th Wimbledon title yesterday. Tulowitzki called the achievement incredible. The athlete himself, the greatest to ever do it. Federer turns 36 next month. Tulowitzki 33 in the fall. What's Tulo learned about himself and his body? With age, to stay fresh and healthy, learn the little things that make your body tick, he told me. Don't take BP every day. Watch your cage work. Limit the number of ground balls you take. Tulowitzki visited with Dustin Pedroia here, a player he's known since college, to exchange some trade secrets to get better. Tulowitzki said, people look at only numbers sometimes, but I'm looking to do everything to help my team win. Dan?
Arash, thank you. But just as an aside, what Roger Federer has done is ridiculous. At his age, we're truly watching one of the great tennis players of all time, maybe the greatest of all time. So Troy Tulowitzki picking a pretty good guy to look at as a case example for how somebody can try to age and retain as much of their ability as possible.
Yeah, and it's just like in baseball when you think about the accomplishments of an Adrian Beltre or David Ortiz, what he did last year. It's the game is getting younger and younger, and the athletes in tennis, they hit the ball harder. Their serves come harder, and the equipment's better. And for an older tennis player like Federer to accomplish what he did is remarkable. But like Tulowitzki said, you always have to think about an edge. Talk to other players, see what they're doing. You might find some new tricks that'll serve you well.
Mitch Moreland crosses up the defense. The shifter's on, and he bangs one into left field, a base hit.
Well, Blue Jays play Moreland to pull, and he takes advantage of that shift. When Stroman throws him that sinking fastball down and away, Moreland doesn't try to pull it into the shift. He stays with it. There's the good run on the fastball, but it takes his bat right to that base hit to left field. Donaldson is playing up the middle. It's short, basically, and there's a big gap and a wide area for Moreland to drive it into left field. We're going to see more and more hitters do that. And you see it. Anthony Rizzo chokes up, Joey Votto chokes up. Guys are going for more bat control, and they're trying to neutralize these shifts.
Here's Hanley Ramirez, 14 home runs, hitting .259. You know, talking to some players about the shift, specifically left-handed batters, it sounds like, Buck, that now, even more than say 5 years ago, teams are now doing it in the minor leagues as well. So the left-handed batters are coming up through the minors, seeing the shift and maybe learning to make adjustments even before they get to the big league.
Well, I have a problem with that because you don't see the pitchers that often. You don't see the hitters that often. Some of these guys, they change leagues mid-season. So now you're going to have Bichette and Guerrero in the Florida State League, and you're going to play shifts on them. They've only been there for 5 days.
Right.
How do you know anything about what they do?
Right.
And I guarantee you they don't change information from league to league.
Ground ball to short, could be 2. Tulowitzki to Barney and on to Smoke for the double play. That is the 21st double play that Marcus Stroman has had turned behind him this year. That leads the major leagues.
Well, Stroman himself has started 5 of those double plays, and the last time he pitched against Houston, they had 4 double plays. This one is a tailor-made double play, and it was interesting how Tulowitzki was so positive with his feed to Darwin Barney. He showed it to him early and really gave him a nice feed and made an easy turn of it for Darwin.
Again, ground ball percentage, Stroman #1 in baseball. And generally speaking, the more the ball is on the ground against him, the more successful Stroman will be. Here's Andrew Benintendi, rookie left fielder, .275, a dozen homers, 52 runs driven in for Benintendi, part of a young and talented outfield. Benintendi at the All-Star break had driven in 51 runs. That is the most for any Red Sox rookie since both Fred Lynn and Jim Rice did it back in 1975. The year that Fred Lynn not only won Rookie of the Year, was the MVP of the American League as well.
Yeah, he went into the break red hot, but he's started the second half not so hot. He's 5 for 32 with no extra base hits.
Another ground ball. Stroman got a bad bounce and throws it past Smoke. Benintendi safe at first, as Stroman expected the ball to come up and get to him a little bit more quickly, and it just kind of died on the grass.
Yeah, you expect that type of bounce at Rogers Center on the artificial surface. You don't expect it on natural grass. So Stroman got to it in real good shape. He slowed down, he broke his momentum down, and watch how he gets off the mound quickly. Then he gets to it, says, okay, I got this, but you see it takes a funny hop. That's the type of spin you see off of artificial turf, not necessarily off natural grass. Took it away from him. He had to reach for it, and by the time he did that, it threw him off balance. He made a wide throw at first.
So a man aboard with 2 down for Jackie Bradley Jr., who takes a strike over the outside corner. Benintendi credited with an infield hit on that play. He's got pretty good speed. 9 steals on the season, being held on by Smoke. Bradley just 1 for 13 in his career against Stroman. Jumps out in front 0-2, and Marcus, his command appears to be really good tonight so far in the early going, Buck. He is on the edges.
Yeah, it has been good the last several starts, and even with that blister issue, last time out against Houston, he fought it a little bit in the first inning. He had 2 walks in the first inning, but got to strike him out, throw him out, double play, and then got a ground ball to get out of the inning. But then after that first inning, he had no problems. One thing that has really stood out for me is the break on his slider. It has absolutely taken a left-hand turn at home plate. I mean, it goes in and then disappears to the right-handed hitters.
We saw that on the Xander Bogaerts strikeout back in the first. Got it. Good movement there on that breaking ball in and under the hands of Bradley. Second strikeout of the night for Stroman, as the Red Sox will leave a man on. So Stroman looks on top of his game in the early going here tonight. Park, here we go. Top 3. Russell Martin leads it off for the Blue Jays. Eduardo Rodriguez on the mound for the Red Sox, with the Blue Jays enjoying an early 3-0 lead. A 2-run double in the first for Kendrys Morales, cashing in Martin, who had singled, and also Justin Smoak, who had walked. And then Steve Pearce led off the second with a home run. Martin fouls one out of play, 1-1.
Yeah, Russell got that base hit to center. They were trying to get the ball inside and up to it. They left it down and out over the plate, and he stayed on it and drove it into center.
After Martin, it'll be Josh Donaldson and then Justin Smoak here in the third. Trying to get the ball in, but too far inside. 2 balls and a strike.
That is such a tough pitch for the umpire. When you're coming inside, that catcher wants the target inside, but he really has a tendency to block out the umpire from getting a good look at that inside strike.
When you caught lefties, they're just better at throwing the ball inside to righties than others. Did you try to convince all lefties, hey, you got to pitch inside to right-handed batters?
No, you can't do that, because some guys just aren't comfortable. Jim Clancy, a right-hander, could never pitch inside to anybody. He didn't like to pitch inside to right-handers. He pitched down and away, and everybody knew it. But when he came inside, he was very tentative, and when he tried to throw inside, he would either hit the batter or leave it out over the plate.
Right.
So we just stopped calling inside. But lefties are all different. You know, Paul Splittoff I had in Kansas City, and he could command it inside.
Strike 3 called over the outside corner. Martin not happy. as he has some words for Chris Siegel on his way back to the third base dugout.
Yeah, you can see he's upset by the call. He had a pretty good look at it, and he had a good at bat. He laid off some tough pitches, and that's why he's disappointed. He stays on this pitch, sees it away, is ready to flip his bat back, but the umpire calls strike 3, and he's not too happy about that call.
There's the 4th strikeout already for Rodriguez through 2 1/3. Got Bautista twice, Martin, and he got Josh Donaldson, who steps in now. He's up there hacking on the first pitch out in front of a changeup, it looked like, and he fouls it off 0-1. Did a lefty have to be a hard thrower for you to want him to throw inside the Rays?
Mike Caldwell with Milwaukee was not a hard thrower, and he could throw inside very effectively. He actually had a sinker he threw inside. And we have seen that with Marco Estrada. When he's good, he can command inside, outside, doesn't make any difference what your velocity is. And I think that's the case with Rodriguez too. He's not a real blazer in there, but I think the fact that he can get it in there and throw it for strikes makes him effective.
He's got Donaldson in swing mode right now, and the 0-2 is popped up back at the plate. Vasquez coming back for a look, but it's about 7 rows deep. It's the screen up on top of the stands behind home plate.
If you are a left-handed pitcher and throw inside, but it's never a strike, it doesn't have any effect at all. Hitters will simply raise their arms, take it, and look for that pitch out over the plate. But because Rodriguez can't throw strikes inside, you have to honor it.
Donaldson in battle mode right now with a count 0-2, and he takes outside. Been a bit of a struggle recently for Donaldson, not driving the ball, not hitting for the typical Donaldson power that we've seen over the last couple of years for the Blue Jays. Outside, little cutter right there that Rodriguez tried to bring back to the outside corner, but it missed by a few inches. Back again. Donaldson putting together a pretty good at bat here.
Yeah, he stayed on that pitch way, and obviously the previous pitch that was off the plate made that one look more hittable.
Two again. Missed inside. And look at Rodriguez. Boy, that's a lot of visible frustration and body language on the mound from Eduardo Rodriguez.
Well, Chris Siegel's done a pretty good job of laying off those borderline pitches. He's not calling them strikes. And it appears as though that pitch was off the plate inside, and he didn't give in to Rodriguez.
Donaldson has worked the count from 0-2 to 3-2. And another foul.
Interesting. He tried to finish the at bat away when early in the game he pitched Donaldson inside. He's only thrown that one pitch inside. See where Vasquez goes now.
Away again. Left it over the middle of the plate. Donaldson fouls another one back.
Yeah, I got away with one right there. Rodriguez did. That's too good a pitch to Donaldson in this situation. I'm really kind of surprised they haven't tried the inside corner again. He's seeing that ball outside. He's got a pretty good gauge on that outside pitch. I'm going to throw him a changeup here.
Which is what they started the at bat with, but he bounces it in, and Donaldson will draw the walk.
Hit a home run with any project this season. Home Hardware, proud sponsor of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Well, Buck, it would be a small victory, and it's still very early in this game, but there's one other update involving an American League East Division team. The Orioles are trailing Texas 1-0 in the 4th inning. The Blue Jays and Orioles have identical records right now, 42 and 49. They are tied for 4th in the American League East. Justin Smoke steps in. And at no point this season have the Blue Jays been better than tied for fourth. They have not been able to look down upon a team in the division at any point this season. Again, it's a very small step of one of many the Blue Jays have to take if they have any hope of getting back into contention or getting into contention at any point this season. But a win tonight and a Baltimore loss would move the Blue Jays ahead of somebody in the division for the first time all year. Foul ball. They have the standings in the American League East up displayed on the green monster as always. And they're the Red Sox sitting on top of the Rays. Tampa Bay only 3 games out. They are a real factor this year. The Yankees 3.5 after the 4-game split here at Fenway over the weekend. The Blue Jays and Orioles both 9.
Andrew Kashner pitching for Texas against Chris Tillman, who's making a start after returning from paternity leave. The Orioles starters have allowed 54 runs in their last 43 innings over 10 games. That's a 10.88 earned run average. Not going to win many games with your starters pitching like that.
And Smoke strikes out. Number 5 on the night for Rodriguez through 2 2/3. And although he's battled some injuries and some consistency issues year by year, a positive sign for him. The strikeouts per 9 are going up.
Yeah, you see his initial season in 2015, he went 10-6 and averaged 7.3 strikeouts per 9. In 16, it jumped to 8.4. And this year, albeit in limited starts, 9.6. But you could see the quality of his fastball and his ability to elevate it and jam these right-handers inside has allowed him to increase that strikeout rate.
There's a fair ball down the left field line off the bat of Kendrys Morales. Around to third on the play comes Donaldson, and a long single by Morales, who with his double in the first inning is now 2 for 2.
Well, that's a good job by Benintendi to get it back to the infield to keep Morales at first on the long single. Donaldson goes first to third. But in this ballpark, anytime you can keep a runner from scoring position, it's a real benefit. And this is a very good defensive outfield. They've got 3 center fielders, and that's a real tricky spot down there where that overhead door is. But Benintendi gets it to Bogarts quickly and then keeps Morales from advancing into second. Carl Willis with a very animated message to Rodriguez. And he's passing along to the catcher. I don't know that he's particularly pleased with the pitch selection here. He really let Donaldson get away, and I think he went away from his strengths after getting ahead of Donaldson 0-2. He tried to finish him off away, and that's not his strength.
Blue Jays have 3 runs on 4 hits. Rodriguez has also walked a couple. But the flip side of the coin is he struck out 5. He's at times had a very good stuff tonight, but at times has made mistakes. And he's facing a first and third 2-out situation here now for Troy Tulowitzki, who grounded out his first at bat.
Tulo is going to be locked and loaded for this first pitch after that mound visit from the pitching coach.
Pretty well located fastball. Might have been a ball off the outside corner, but it's called a strike. 0-1.
That's interesting. Second time through the order how Vasquez and Rodriguez have decided to pitch away. The only ball that was hit inside was the home run by Pierce.
The 0-1. Down low with a fastball, a ball and a strike.
Again, for Tulowitzki, Rodriguez throws so many fastballs, you can almost eliminate the slider and the changeup, especially in this count. Ball and a strike. Just sit on a fastball and hope you get one to hit.
Donaldson at third, Morales at first. Already 3-0 Blue Jays as they bat top of the third. And the 1-1 got a fastball, but he fouled it back, and it's 1-2.
Well, he mentioned that he throws a lot of fastballs, so he's throwing almost 70% fastballs, 20% changeups. He hasn't used that changeup that much tonight. Throws the slider occasionally, but boy, you go up there against him, you got to be thinking fastball all the time. He'll average it about 93 miles an hour, so it's not overpowering, but his command has allowed him to be successful using that fastball.
1-2. Swing and a miss to get him. Frustrated, Tulowitzki slams down the bat in the batting helmet as the Blue Jays leave a couple of men on.
Said, quote, "We have games we've been really good, games really bad. The key, Smoke admitted, is finding that happy medium." Troy Tulowitzki agreed with the manager's assessment and said, "We need to stay out of long innings, have good team at-bats, and trust it." Gibbons was blunt about it today. He said, "We need to be better in a combination of all parts of the game. We're capable of it," Gibbons said. "We're just waiting for it to happen." Dan?
Well, and that's the key, Buck. At times the offense has been there, at times not. The starting pitching has not been nearly as good as last year, so the bullpen's been overworked, and when the bullpen gets taxed, then the bullpen gives up more runs than they should, and the defense has not been as good as last year.
The defense has really been poor, and I think that has been a problem. That puts pressure on the pitchers, that puts pressure on the offense. This season, they have had 5 games where they have committed 3 errors in a ball game. That happened just once last year. So their defense hasn't been good either. And like John Gibbons said, every aspect of the game we have not played well.
And it's not early anymore. This is the 92nd game on the season for the Blue Jays. Here's another ball on the ground, right at Darwin Barney, and an easy play to retire Christian Vasquez.
Yeah, you're right. It's not early by any means. It's after the All-Star break. You got to put some games together. The players know this, and you know, you can have all the team meetings you want, and you know, we've heard about Terry Francona having a team meeting, and we've heard about Joe Madden having a team meeting recently, and Bruce Bochy had a team meeting. But the players have to go out and play. They're the ones that have to get it done, and whatever it takes. These players are good players. They've had good careers, and they're the ones that have to determine their work, how much time they put in, what they're going to do to get this thing turned around.
Here's Brock Holtz. Second day back to the active roster after a lengthy stay on the disabled list with vertigo. Started off, it looked like concussion-like symptoms, but Holt wound up missing a couple of months, and of course when healthy, a really useful guy because he can play so many different positions. And he's at third base tonight, where the Red Sox have had their issues, to say the least, among them releasing Pablo Sandoval recently, despite Sandoval being owed, wait for it, more than $48 million over the next 2.5 years. But the Sandoval experiment just never worked out here. Got a 5-year $95 million deal, was here for about half the time, was hurt, underperformed, and it just never came close to working out.
Now, and the unfortunate side of that is that they traded Travis Shaw to Milwaukee, who's having a phenomenal season, playing third for the Brewers.
A lot of Todd Frazier talk around these parts. Frazier with the White Sox. Doesn't hit for average, but hits for a lot of power. Another ground ball. Donaldson to his left and on to first in time. 2 down.
Now, when you play on the infield behind Marcus Stroman, you got to be on your toes. I don't care what part of the diamond you're playing. But there's going to be a ground ball hit in your direction sooner or later. Tulowitzki got this game started with 2 terrific defensive plays in the first inning. He went in the hole to throw out Mookie Betts and then made a barehanded grab behind the mound to throw out Dustin Pedroia. But when you're playing the infield behind Marcus Stroman, you better be ready for a ball hit your way.
8 outs tonight for Stroman, 6 of them via the ground out, 2 on strikeouts. The Red Sox do have 2 hits on the night, and one of them was erased on a double play ball. And Betts looks at a strike. Betts with a 2-run home run in the nightcap of the day-night doubleheader against the Yankees yesterday. The Red Sox lost the opener 3-0 and then won the nightcap 3-0 after losing a 16-inning game on Saturday. So they played 34 innings of baseball over the last 2 days. Well located right there, 1-2. But you know what? Every team goes through it, whether it's arriving in a city at 5 in the morning or day-night doubleheaders or weather causing issues early in the season, and comes back around later in the season. Stroman against him. That pitch running away from Betts. 3rd strike out of the night for Stroman, who's on top of his game.
Adaptive baseball program for children and youth living with physical and cognitive disabilities. To find an accessible baseball program near you, visit jayscare.com/challengerbaseball.
Arash, thank you. And as always the case, a lot of Blue Jays fans traveling to see the team on the road. It's a midweek series. Usually you expect to see more on weekend series, obviously. In the middle of the summer, looks like some people taking vacation, but in our hotel down on the field. So I guess some people who were here on a tour. There were a lot of Blue Jays fans on the field before the game. Steve Pearce, who homered his first time up, this time pops one up on the infield for Dustin Pedroia. Had to wait a long time for that one to come down. Pedroia's on quite a streak right now. He has gone 112 games since making an error. That goes back to last year.
Yeah, it's really interesting. He's a terrific defender. A couple of years ago, he was charged with an error in the midst of that rule change when they were talking about the transfer and everything else. He dropped the ball. He was charged with an error. It was his only error to that point. Then mid-season, they changed the rule on him, and it wouldn't have been an error under the new rule.
There's a ball shot down the right field line off the bat of Kevin Pillar. He's thinking 2. Mookie Betts' throw cut. And the throw to second, not in time. Pilar in with a sliding 1-out double.
24th double of the season for Kevin Pilar, and anytime you hit it to right in the direction of Mookie Betts, you better hustle out of the box because he can really throw. Betts gets over, and this is a great angle of watch how much room he has to cover. Then he pivots and throws quickly right on the money to Pedroia, but Pilar slides in ahead of the throw. And Pedroia knows that this is going to be a challenge. He sees Mookie Betts cut it off, turns around the bag and peeks over his shoulder. But Betts' throw is late. The relay from Pedroia.
That's the 24th double on the season for Pilar. He is the Blue Jay leader in that category. Here's Darwin Barney. We mentioned that Dustin Pedroia's got a streak of 112 games since committing an error. That's the longest streak by a second baseman since Darwin Barney went 141 games without committing an error as a Chicago Cub back in 2012. And in that year, Darwin Barney won the Gold Glove.
That's tied with Placido Polanco for the most consecutive errorless games at second base during one season. Polanco did it in 2007. Barney won the Gold Glove. The irony is that he broke Ryan Sandberg's record, and Sandberg was his manager in the minor leagues who moved him from shortstop to second base.
3-0 Blue Jays top four. 102nd, 1 out. 1-1 to Barney. Low, ball 2. Rodriguez had 76 pitches through 3 1/3. He got an animated visit from his pitching coach Carl Willis an inning ago. First start back since coming off the DL. Missed about 6 weeks with a knee injury, 3 rehab starts. This is his first time back in the big leagues since early June. Checking Pilar out at second. Barney chases one up and away, and it's 2-2.
Interesting time for a visit from the catcher. Vasquez immediately going to the mound after that swing and a miss from Barney. Carl Willis, the pitching coach, had that meeting on the mound with Rodriguez. He wasn't too happy with the way Rodriguez was going about his business, and he carries that frustration back to the manager, John Farrell, who himself was a pitching coach. So he knows what Carl Willis is all about. And it looks like he's just not pleased with the pitch selection. He's looking out to the mound and said, you know, this lefty's got good stuff, but I think he went away from his strength last time through the batting order.
A long look at Pilar. Now the 2-2 to Barney is a swing and a fly ball to right center field. Lots of room for Bradley. Pilar goes back to the bag. Bradley the catch, and Pilar won't test the arm. 2 down.
When you watch this Red Sox outfield play defensively, they are textbook. They do a lot of things really well. Even that routine fly ball to center. Bradley never took anything for granted. He got behind the ball. He set himself. He moved into the ball as he caught it. And Kevin Pilar had no chance whatsoever to advance. I mean, this is textbook baseball right here. He sets himself, gets his momentum going into the ball, and unloads a terrific throw to the cutoff man. This is a very talented outfield. It features basically 3 center fielders.
Terrific range for all 3. So Pilar still out at second. 2 down in the inning now. And back to the top of the order for Jose Bautista, who has struck out in both of his at-bats so far tonight. 2 of the 6 that Rodriguez has so far. Not exactly where Vasquez wanted that pitch, but it's in there for a called strike. See, Vasquez was set up inside. He wanted to get that right in on the hands of Bautista.
Yeah, don't you love that after a game a pitcher said, well, I only made a couple of mistakes tonight. That was one that was not brought to attention.
Although the amazing thing is, when you talk about a mistake, what we're talking about is missing your spot by, say, 6 inches. From 60 feet 6 inches away. But that's how good these pitchers have to be if they're going to execute.
Yeah, if you make a mistake and it's 6 inches on the plate, all of a sudden that becomes a barreled up baseball.
Yep. Like everything, it's a lot harder than it looks. Huh?
Especially from up here, it's easy.
The old saying is the higher up you get, the easier it looks.
You know, Rodriguez and Vasquez are having a bit of a problem here. Now they're going to talk about it. Vasquez gave Rodriguez a sign. He was starting into his set position, stepped off the rubber as if he was confused by what he was going to throw.
Do you think this is the runner being at second, or this is just ongoing issues that are happening?
I think it's ongoing issues, and I think it goes back to the meeting with Carl Willis on the mound and that meeting he had with John Farrell in the dugout. He probably had a chat with Christian Vasquez saying, come on, boys, let's get back to the game plan. Anytime a pitching coach sees this much confusion between his battery, he becomes concerned.
The 1-1. Fastball called strike inside corner with the knees, 1-2.
Bautista looks like he's trying to make up his mind what to do now, and with 2 strikes you just have to protect the plate. You can't look for a pitch in an area with 2 strikes. Struck out on a high fastball his first time and a breaking ball his second time.
Pilar has the attention of Rodriguez, even though there are 2 outs in the inning. You would think it's unlikely Pilar would try to steal third, although he has done it on a couple of occasions this year with 2 outs, has attempted it, but you wouldn't think he'd be thinking about that in this situation. One, 2. And Bautista strikes out for the 3rd time tonight. The Pilar double is stranded. Stroman has not only been by and large successful, Buck, he has been one of the more durable pitchers in the American League.
Yeah, he sure has. When you look at the last 2 seasons, there's some big name pitchers on that list, including the Red Sox Chris Sale and Rick Porcello, Tigers Justin Verlander, the Blue Jays saw him over the weekend, Chris Archer, and then Marcus Stroman, the most innings pitched over the last 2 seasons. Stroman is 5th. And anytime you put yourself in that category, you're doing a good job. You're preparing yourself well, taking good care of yourself, and making sure that you're ready to pitch each and every day. It also suggests that you're pretty good because you're pitching many innings each start. So Stroman now, we mentioned this is his 75th career start. Comes into this game with a 33-21 record. And a career .378 earned run average. I mean, it's just a young guy getting started now, but he has put himself into some pretty elite class.
Dustin Pedroia, Xander Bogaerts, and Mitch Moreland coming up for the Red Sox here in the bottom of the 4th. 3-0 Blue Jays in the opening game of this 4-game series. So when you say he's just a young guy, do you think he will continue to evolve? He'll continue to tinker with how he attacks hitters?
Yes, I do. I think because he's such a great athlete to begin with, and we have seen him evolve over the last couple of seasons. I mean, remember, this is a guy that was thought to be out for the entire season after he tore his ACL in the spring of 2015. And he beat the odds, came back, won 4 games in September, and then pitched well in the postseason. I think he is motivated by the spotlight. There's no question about that. He wants to be the best. And in doing that, he takes great care of his body. He always tries to figure out how to beat hitters. He leans on his coaches very well, and he talks to his hitters about how pitchers get him out.
Pedroia sends one down toward the right field corner, but that ball will be foul. This is a tricky right field corner. That pesky pole is only 302 feet away, and what looks like a nothing to it foul ball winds up close to the pole.
Yeah, and you can see that it's really juts out once it gets past that pole. I mean, there have been many slicing pop flies that have snuck around the pole for home runs, so you've got to play everything out down that right field line.
From 3-0 to 3-2 on Pedroia. And a ground ball swinging bunt up the third baseline, and Stroman, after it goes foul, will make contact with the ball. And that he didn't have a chance to get to it fair, and had he gotten to it, Pedroia probably would have been safe anyway.
Well, let's go back to Stroman a little bit and talk about star players. I don't know, I've never met a star player that didn't think he was the best. And every star player has to think that. I mean, sometimes you see star players who verbalize it, some show it emotionally, and others who just play, but inside they know they're the best. And you have to have that kind of confidence to succeed against such great talent that you're dealing with every day. Marcus Stroman just shows a lot of emotion.
Pedroia will draw the walk, and I think in that sense, Buck, what you just said about Marcus Stroman, you could have said verbatim about Dustin Pedroia. They're two guys who have been told, maybe not anymore, but for years and years we're probably told, well, yeah, you're good, but you're not big enough, you're not this, you're not that. And they both play the game as if they're constantly trying to show everybody, oh yeah, look what I've turned into now.
Exactly. And Pedroia was a Rookie of the Year and an MVP. Stroman is going to be an all-star. Of course, he had that great effort for Team USA in the World Baseball Classic to win the Classic for the first time for Team USA. I mean, he likes the stage. There's no doubt about it.
Xander Bogaerts, swing and a miss, 0-1. That's one of the great things. I mean, all sports, but when you think about baseball specifically, what Dustin Pedroia has accomplished, what Marcus Stroman has accomplished, what Jose Altuve has accomplished. You know, we all marvel at Aaron Judge, 6'7", 280, incredible power. It's captivating. But to see players of all shapes and sizes be so successful in so many different ways is one of the great things about this sport.
You can include Mookie Betts in that category. Yep. And then, of course, over the weekend, the Red Sox saw Aaron Judge. And they talk about Aaron Judge, 6'7", 282. Well, Frank Howard was 6'7", and weighed 300 pounds. And he was way ahead of his time as far as big men playing this game. But now we've had John Roush at 6'10" pitching. We've had Randy Johnson at 6'9", 6'10". Chris Sale, David Price, they're 6'6". They're big guys.
Oh, 2 to Bogaerts. In the air to right field. Right at Bautista for the first out.
The Honda Checkered Flag event is back. It's the best time to find a Honda you'll love.
Really nice night here in Boston as it heads into nightfall here at Fenway Park. Dan Schulman, Buck Martinez, Arash Madani, and Marcus Stroman pitching well. Pedroia's at first, 1 out, bottom of the 4th. Blue Jays up 3-0. 2-run double for Kendrys Morales, solo home run for Steve Pearce. And here's Mitch Moreland with a base hit his first time up. Now 4 for 4 in his career against Marcus Stroman.
Moreland got a base hit against a shifted infield defense, and look where Donaldson is now. He's playing more straight away at third than he was initially. The Blue Jays had 3 defenders on the right side of the infield the first time Moreland hit, Not the case this time.
Bouncing ball. Barney's got it. Only play to first to Smoke to get to Moreland, and Pedroia, not sure where the ball was going because the play was behind him, slid into second as if possibly they were going to throw there to try to get the lead runner. He didn't want to take anything to chance.
It's kind of interesting. It's a little bit like the play that happened in the 16-inning game here on Saturday in extra innings when Matt Holliday was running at first and ball was hit to the first baseman. Jacoby Ellsbury hit it to Moreland, and Holliday was running in between first and second, turned around and slid back into first. And because of that, the Red Sox protested the interpretation of the call. They ruled that it was not interference at first.
Hanley Ramirez grounded into a double play his first time up. This was the guy with the retirement of David Ortiz. If you were looking for, who could be that power linchpin in this lineup. I mean, Mookie Betts is a sensational player, but they need him to do so many different things. They hit him leadoff, third, fourth, wherever they move him around between last year and this year. This was the guy that maybe a lot of people in the division stepping into that Ortiz role, maybe being the cleanup hitter, being a 30 to 35 homer, 100+ RBI guy, but it has not been a vintage Ramirez season. Tulowitzki looks like he got some funny spin on that ball, but he stays with it, makes the play, and retires Ramirez and the Red Sox here in the bottom of the fourth. Time now for a Blue Jays Central update. Here are Hazel and Greg in the Samsung broadcast studio.
At Bat mobile app. You can stay connected to the game's best players all season long with game day, live game video highlights, radio broadcasts, stats, news, and more. Download MLB.com at Bat today, your #1 app for live baseball.
Thank you, Arash. We go to the top of the fifth inning here at Fenway Park. The Blue Jays up 3-0. Eduardo Rodriguez back of the mound facing Russell Martin, and the changeup bounces in for ball one. Martin, Donaldson, Smoke for the Blue Jays here in the fifth. Martin has singled and scored and have been called out on strikes. Rodriguez with 7 strikeouts through 4. But he and the Red Sox trailing 3-0.
Rodriguez making his 6th start against the Blue Jays. He's 1-3 coming into this game. He made his only big league relief appearance earlier this season against the Jays, back on the 19th of April at Rogers Center. Rodriguez made his debut in 2015 in his first 3 games against Texas, Minnesota, and Baltimore. He was 2-0 with a 0.44 earned run average. He was dominant. And then the fourth major league start was against the Blue Jays, and they jumped all over him. They hit him hard. 4 2/3. He gave up 9 earned runs on 8 hits. And unfortunately for Rodriguez, that was the game in which Marco Estrada took a no-hitter into the 8th inning right here at Fenway.
3-1 hit high in the air to deep center field. Bradley back, makes the catch. About 400 feet away in straightaway center. Martin gives it a ride, but he's retired.
When this ball came off the bat, it looked like it had a chance to be extra bases in center. But watch Bradley in center. He turns his back on the infield, takes his eye off the ball, and runs to the spot. He expects the ball to come down, and what do you know? He was right. He is pretty good. I tell you what, he reminds me a lot of Devon White. His ability to run where the ball is going to come down is remarkable. But he turned his back on that ball, headed for the fence in center. And when he turned around, he was there waiting for the ball to come down.
Josh Donaldson has struck out and walked.
Jackie Bradley Jr. made that terrific play last night, and watch how he just glides to the warning track, turns and waits for the ball to come down, and made an easy catch on a hard hit ball to center.
And I could hear, and I'm sure you could too, when the ball left Martin's bat, you could hear a lot of people in the stands go, oh, because they knew that ball had been hit hard. In some ways, this is a great hitter's park. In other areas, though, it actually favors the pitchers. And straightaway center and right center field, that triangle at 420, a couple of areas where it helps the pitchers out.
Well, you know, there is a fallacy about this ballpark that left-handers can't perform well here, but that is a fallacy because right-handers get that green monster in their head. They become very pull conscious and pull off the ball. And then there's that big triangle out there in deep right center, 420 feet away from home. There is so much room out there for the outfielders to corral those long drives.
Rodriguez battles back with a couple of knee-high strikes. Full count on Donaldson.
That ball Martin hit is in the WestJet flight deck at Badger Center.
Yep. Rodriguez shaking off Vasquez a number of times, and Vasquez tells him to step off and let's start all over again.
Foul chip. Vasquez couldn't corral it, keep it in his catcher's mitt. Donaldson stays alive.
Orioles still down at Texas 1-0. End of the 5th inning. One final earlier today. Washington beat Cincinnati 6-1. Yankees are underway in Minnesota. No score in the second. There's another walk drawn by Donaldson. That's the 11th walk for Donaldson in the last 9 games. Rodriguez up to 94 pitches. Still no sign, though, of any activity in the Boston bullpen.
Now, nobody is stirring at all. Generally, after a walk like that to Donaldson with pitch count so high, you'd think they'd start to stir. That's not the case.
So a man aboard for Justin Smoak. Smoak has walked and scored and struck out. Pretty good hole on the right side. Pedroia shading Smoak up the middle of the diamond. Red Sox looking to turn 2, but Smoak will rip one into center field, a base hit. Donaldson up to second.
Boy, Smoak as a right-handed hitter just has such a pretty swing. He walked and scored in the first, struck out in the third, and watch him stay on this pitch. Up out over the plate, doesn't try to muscle it over the green monster, stays with it and drives it into center. But Smoak has had some season from the right side, and that has certainly allowed him to hit over 290 overall this season.
And now with the meeting on the mound, Carl Willis, the pitching coach, out for the second time tonight. And now there is some signs of movement out of the bullpen. Nobody throwing yet, but it looks like maybe the phone is ringing and something's going to get started. You imagine it's got to start soon. He's almost at 100 pitches. First time back off the DL, although as you mentioned he did make 3 rehab starts. Who's it going to be?
Just still starting to stir, move around, and now it looks like the lefty Fernando Abad is going to start to loosen up. Indeed, it is Abad.
So Rodriguez knows he may not have much longer on the mound. He's in another jam here. First and second, one out, facing a guy who's already got 2 hits off him tonight in Kendrys Morales. Morales doubled off the monster with the first, driving in a couple, and then singled down the left field line just inside the bag in his second at bat.
Yeah, he hit that ball hard too. It looked like it might be a double, but Benintendi played it back in the infield very quickly to keep him to a single.
Movement on that fastball, tailing away from Morales, and it's 1-1.
There's nothing to indicate that Rodriguez is tired. I mean, he hasn't elevated pitches. The velocity's still good. He's got movement on his fastball. Just that artificial number of 100. Everybody gets nervous. Good fastball there. Morales was late on it. The old pitching coaches used to tell managers, hey, the hitters will let you know when he's losing it. Of course, managers want to know ahead of time.
Yeah. Job's a lot easier when you can see the future, huh? Yeah. John Farrell looking on with some concern. Carl Willis as well. Red Sox haven't been hitting much lately, so they don't want to fall any further behind.
You mentioned it earlier. The Red Sox have lost 6 of their last 9 games. They've not hit well. They've actually getting some pretty good pitching now. Of course, Sale's good every time he goes to the mound. Price has been real good lately. Pomerantz is coming around, and now if Rodriguez can fall in line, pitching should be not a concern for John Farrell, but somewhat of a surprise that the hitting has become.
He scored 9 runs in that 4-game series against the Yankees, and remember, one of those games was a 16-inning game. A look back, and the 1-2. Morales, that's a fair ball. Throw to second, out there. Throw to first, out there. Morales' lack of speed costing the Blue Jays there. That's not typical around the horn double play. But it will end the inning. 5-4-3s. The Blue Jays leave a man on and cannot capitalize on a 2-on, 1-out situation.
Didn't get any better yesterday, but this morning he woke up with improvement and threw flat ground this afternoon. Now tomorrow is the test. Liriano's going to throw a bullpen side session here at Fenway. If all goes well, he could get the ball for Thursday's matinee here. If not, Dan, it'll be Mike Bolsinger who will get the start.
So tomorrow they will find out. Bolsinger's still on the roster. The Blue Jays did make a move today as they designated Lucas Harrell for assignment and recalled Dominic Leone, who's been up and down and up and down. Joe Smith, by the way, is apparently pitching tonight again on another minor league rehab outing. So if all goes well, he could be back soon. So it's kind of just symptomatic of the era, I guess, Buck, but we might see more roster moves, especially on the pitching staff, coming for the Jays in the coming days. Yeah,
we're going to see a lot more moves. I think Joe Smith will be back. He has another good outing. He threw very well in his first outing on Friday night for 11 pitches and got 7 strikes. Had no problems. Gave up a base hit and struck out 1. But he is scheduled to pitch tonight in Columbus for the Bisons.
Blue Jays bullpen just has had to throw so many innings. They haven't been getting enough innings from their starters. The Blue Jays pen worked 7 innings yesterday against Detroit. Granted, an extra innings game, but they worked 16 innings in the 3-game series against the Tigers. And they're just taxed. And the Blue Jays are hoping with Biagini back in the pen, Smith coming back, with Barnes and Tepera and Osuna, and it shapes up really nicely if everybody's healthy, but it all has to start with the starters going deeper into games.
No question. It all starts and ends with the starters. And you'd like a minimum of 6 innings. Ideally, you want 7 innings from your starter. But when you look at the total work this bullpen has gone through, I mean, it's among the tops in baseball. Most innings pitched in the bullpen this season. Cincinnati leads the way. The Orioles are right behind them. Then the Marlins and Brewers, a couple more National League teams, and the Blue Jays are 5th in the majors.
Well, 4 of those 5 teams not having good seasons. Milwaukee's having a good year in spite of the fact that their bullpen has had to pitch a lot.
Well, the starters only pitched 11 innings in the 3 games in Detroit. And Benintendi took that close pitch for a ball. Leadoff walk.
2nd inning in a row that Stroman has walked the leadoff man.
It's really interesting. Stroman's 2 starts ago had that blister issue in New York, and in his last start against Houston, it looked like he was dealing with some discomfort in the 1st inning. As we mentioned earlier, he walked Shoe, but was able to get out of it without any problems. And then after that, we saw no more indications of any concern. And I haven't seen anything that would suggest he's having problems again tonight.
Here's Jackie Bradley Jr. First pitch swinging, smokes the ball to left field, sinking liner, and a nice play made by Pierce for the out as Benintendi hustles back to first.
But a left-handed hitter will hit that ball to left field and it'll slice toward the line, and this ball is hit hard on the line. It's a sinking liner that Pierce stays with it. And to his credit, and it's a natural thing in this ballpark, you can see Bradley's upset. He hit it hard and expected it to have a hit at least. But Pierce was out early during batting practice taking fungos off the bat of Tim Leeper. Off the wall, line drives, and it prepared him to make that nice catch right there to rob Bradley of a hit.
Runner is going, and Christian Vasquez fouls one back. Red Sox, this is kind of as old as baseball itself. Team is struggling to hit. They haven't scored many runs. Put a guy in motion, try to open up a hole, just see if he can get something started.
Especially with Stroman, who throws so many ground balls. By starting that runner at first, one of the middle infielders is going to vacate his position, and maybe you can sneak a ground ball through there for a base hit.
Stroman a couple of glances, and now just a soft toss over to first. Benintendi's now caught the attention of Marcus Stroman. The Red Sox, not known as a running team, as Benintendi draws another throw. They're actually 3rd in the American League in stolen bases this year with 57. Benintendi's got 9. Mookie Betts has 16. Xander Bogaerts 9. So a number of different guys who can run. Not going. Ooh, back to the mound, in and out of the glove of Stroman. Bounces into foul territory. That'll be a base hit. That ball was an absolute rocket off the bat of Vasquez. Stroman got a piece of it, but could not glove it.
He's upset he didn't catch it. He is so quick on the mound. He finishes up in a good fielding position, and he got his glove up. This ball is smoked, headed for center. Stroman gets his glove up, gets his head out of the way, but unfortunately it doesn't stick in his webbing. Terrific reactions, and he's just upset he didn't catch it. I don't know how he got his glove up in time, but he did.
Wow. You can't hit a ball much harder than that. I think 9 out of 10 pitchers, maybe more than that, either don't touch it at all or get hit by it because they can't get their body out of the way of it.
Exactly. He had the presence of mind to kind of duck his head out of the way and swipe at it with his glove.
Number 9 hitter is Brock Holt. Grounded out his first time up. 2 on with a 1 out and a ball and a strike to count on Holt.
Well, Stroman needs another one of those ground ball double plays to get him out of this. He had one in the second off the bat of Hanley Ramirez.
The fans starting to come to life just a little bit, but Buck, you've been here so many times. It's a pretty quiet Fenway Park crowd tonight.
It is. And you know what? I think the 4-game series against the Yankees wore them out.
Wears out the fans too.
16 innings on Saturday, a day-night doubleheader on Sunday. And they're just kind of out of gas.
Bounced foul.
We mentioned that Stroman leads the majors by starting 5 double plays from the mound. Julio Teheran of the Braves, he started 4. No one else has matched that number. Stroman, he is like the extra infielder on the diamond for the Blue Jays.
Well, we've seen a pinch hit this year. If the Blue Jays ever had an emergency on the infield and only had pitchers left, he'd be the first guy running down to John Gibbons and saying, "Put me in."
Oh, he would. And that pinch hit double in St. Louis, scored the winning run. He had a home run in Atlanta.
Yep.
An opposite field home run.
2-2. To second, one on to first. Not in time. They will get 1 out on a great play made by Josh Donaldson as they force the runner at second, and the end result is first and third, 2 down.
Boy, Donaldson did a terrific job of snaring this hot shot. This another ball hit hard, headed to left field. Donaldson couldn't get to his feet, had to throw from his knees, and Brock runs so well he beat it out at first to keep the inning alive.
And keeping it alive means getting Mookie Betts to the plate. Betts with a ground out and a strikeout tonight. Blue Jays have played some good defense tonight. Troy Tulowitzki's made a couple of good plays. Steve Pearce this inning on the sinking liner. Donaldson on that hard hit ball off the bat of Holt. Now can Stroman make the pitches he needs to make to get out of it. Low ball 1.
Stroman even saved himself a base hit to center by knocking that ball down off the bat of Vasquez.
So some good contact this inning for the Red Sox, really for the first time tonight against Marcus Stroman. Ball and a strike.
Yeah, Stroman has really handled this lineup to this point. He had a lot of trouble with the Red Sox over his last 4 starts coming into this game. For his career, he's 4-2. But his first 4 starts, he was 4-0 with a 126 earned run average, and they hit just 198 against him.
Jammed him, and a flare down the right field line, back out of play, 1-2.
Marcus Stroman 2 starts ago went to Russell Martin and said, "I want you to sit off the plate on the fastball and the slider because I've got movement." And Russell sets up outside. He missed his spot. That was a dangerous pitch as Betts got a pretty good pitch to hit. But Martin said, Stroman came to me and said, "Listen, my slider is staying on the plate too much. I want you to move off the plate, and that way I will throw that slider to your glove and you'll get off the plate. This should be it." And there it was. Stroman was so aware. He said, "I'm having trouble getting it off the plate, especially with 2 strikes." And you don't want to throw a breaking ball in the strike zone with 2 strikes. Most of these good hitters like Betts will hit it. So it's got to be a strike to ball breaking ball.
Going away again. And he got him. Awkward swing by Betts. Great movement on that slider. And the Red Sox will leave a couple of men on as Stroman, all fired up, comes off the mound here at the end of 5. The Red Sox, a half game back in Tampa Bay for second in the American League East. Eduardo Rodriguez back on the mound to start the 6th inning. As he misses outside, a ball 1 to Troy Tulowitzki. That was pitch number 101 for Rodriguez tonight. The bullpen is up as the inning begins. Rodriguez has handled Troy Tulowitzki twice, a ground ball and a strikeout, both times to end an inning. And in the 3rd inning, the strikeout was with 2 men on, and Tulowitzki slammed down both his bat and his batting helmet after that strikeout. After Tulo, Steve Pearce and Kevin Pillar.
You know, go back for the Yankees for a minute. They have lost 20 of their last 29 games and dropped 7.5 games in the standings to the Red Sox. And they have gone through a tough stretch. And today, Michael Pineda had Tommy John surgery. So he'll be out the rest of this year and all of next year, more than likely.
You'd imagine the Yankees will be active before the trading deadline, but I don't get the feeling that they're going to make a blockbuster move. They just value their prospects, that where they're at in their development right now. And this is a change from some recent Yankee teams, but they value that farm system they built up last year with the trades they made, Miller and Chapman and so forth, those trades. I don't think they're going to mortgage the future for the present.
No, I don't think so. They've got some very attractive minor leaguers that they cherish and value.
Tulowitzki strikes out again. The Red Sox, on the other hand, whether it's a third baseman, whether it's a reliever, who knows, although the overall bullpen numbers are very good, but Joe Kelly's just gone on the DL with a strained hamstring. But you certainly get the feeling that Dave Dombrowski will be supplementing the roster somehow between now and the 31st of July.
Yeah, and this division is intimately winnable. I mean, this division is there for the taking, and certainly with Sale and Price and Porcello and Pomerantz, they've got the starting pitching. I think Dave Dombrowski, he's always shown in the past that he will make some dramatic moves to enhance his chances to win. They're good behind the plate, no problems there. They got maybe the best closer in the game today. Defense is good all around the field. They just, that third base spot has been a big black hole for them.
You hear a couple of names depending on how, say, Pittsburgh does the next couple of weeks. David Freese is a Pirate. He's, of course, a third baseman and a really versatile guy. I think an interesting guy if the Pirates are making moves. A guy like Josh Harrison, who can play third, can play second, can play the outfield, good energy guy.
How about Eduardo Nunez of the Giants? Yeah. Another guy that's got some speed, another dimension that the Red Sox have valued this season.
0-2 to Pierce.
The tricky part of it is trying to identify somebody that's going to fit into this system. I mean, Boston's not an easy place to play. That's Kung Fu Panda.
Yeah.
And John Farrell knows that this is a very, very close group of players they have, and they want to bring in the right person. Not only somebody that's productive, but also a guy that understands what they're all about.
Well, we've talked about it before. In some ways, playing baseball for the Red Sox is kind of like playing hockey in Toronto. You are the news all day, every day. It is the ultimate fishbowl.
And if you're not used to it, it eats you up. Edgar Renteria was a terrific player before he came here. David Price has had problems adjusting to this atmosphere. Chris Sale, not the same.
Seems to be doing all right.
Yeah. You know, Roberto Osuna got a chance to meet Sale and Kimbrough at the All-Star game, and I asked him, I said, what were your impressions? He says, Chris Sale to me is just like David Price was when he came to Toronto. Upbeat, positive, engaging, complimentary. He said he was terrific at the All-Star game. Good at bat by Pierce.
Draw the wall. And John Farrell, a brisk walk out to the mound. That is going to be all for Eduardo Rodriguez. He'll get one out and leave a man aboard here in the 6th inning. Mixed results, some good, some not as good in his return from the DL. As Rodriguez leaves, and another lefty, Fernando Abad, getting ready to come into the game. Abad comes into the game now for the Red Sox. 1-on-1 out here in the 6th.
Yeah, Abad, he has bounced around. Signed initially with the Houston Astros. In fact, made 6 starts for Houston early in his career. But then, as most left-hander specialists like Abad, he's bounced around. He went from Houston to Washington, Oakland, Minnesota, and then landed here in Boston as a trade piece. in August of 2016. He last entered a game against the Yankees and Brett Gardner and struck out Gardner on 3 pitches.
Well, this might show you that with all the innings the Red Sox have played the last 3 days, 16-inning game Saturday, day-night doubleheader Sunday, they may be a couple of men down in the bullpen right now. It's a little unusual to see a lefty come in here against this all right-handed lineup the Blue Jays have tonight. They actually had to use Doug Fister, who was to have started for the Red Sox, but he had to come in Saturday in the 16-inning game, so he's been pushed back from Tuesday to Thursday. They made some changes in the rotation, which is why the Blue Jays are not going to see Chris Sale on Thursday. He was originally going to start on Thursday.
Yeah,
Fister
took the loss in that game on Saturday night, but he came in late in the ball game and pitched 2 2/3 and lost the game. So they've juggled their rotation a bit, and I think Chris Sale could probably benefit from an extra day's rest.
The Blue Jays could probably benefit from an
They
extra
would
day's
love
rest for
that,
Chris
but
Sale.
they applauded the move from John Farrell.
You know, for so many years, and he's still Hall of Fame, first ballot, unbelievable all-time pitcher. But for so many years, Clayton Kershaw was the answer to if you could have one guy start one game. But now guys like Chris Sale and Max Scherzer, at least they're making it a conversation.
Yeah. Sale, the last time he faced the Blue Jays on Canada Day at Rogers Center, struck out 11 over 7 innings, allowed him just 4 hits.
Pilar went, and he knew it. That's the second out.
Lamont's got a good fastball, and as a hitter, you know you got to get that bat going, but Pilar identified much too late that the ball was high, and he clearly swings at this pitch. You can see him trying to fight it to check his swing, but he went around.
So Abad strikes out the first batter he faces. Pierce still at first, 2 down. And the batter was Darwin Barney, 0 for 2 on a couple of fly ball outs. Looks it over low for ball 1. Maybe the best development for the Red Sox the last few weeks is that it looks like David Price is coming around. Up at the top of the rotation. If Sale is Sale, and he has been all year, and Price is vintage David Price, or even reasonably close to vintage David Price, that's an awfully good 1-2 combination.
Yeah, it sure is, and there's no reason to think that Price won't be able to sort it out. He really threw the ball well against the Yankees, and he was strong, had good fastball command, and he just came right at New York and threw 8 innings of shutout ball. And sooner or later, you got to think that Rick Porcello is going to have a streak of good games. He won the Cy Young Award last year, and he's certainly got the stuff to turn things around.
Ground ball up the middle. Pedroia's got it on to first. Plenty of time to get Barney and end the inning. No runs, no hits, a walk, and a man left. Going to bottom 6. Still 3-0 Blue Jays. night Major League action for you tomorrow night after our coverage of Blue Jays and Red Sox on Sportsnet 1 tomorrow night 10 Eastern. You can see the Indians and the Giants. The Indians not only the leaders in the American League Central but also the next opponent for the Toronto Blue Jays.
Yeah, the Indians started out on the West Coast and they were swept at the hands of the Oakland A's 5-0, 5-3, and 7-3. They stayed out west and they'll finish up with the Giants, and they will play an afternoon game on Wednesday. And they, unlike the Blue Jays, will have Thursday off before they pick up that 3-game series beginning on Friday in Cleveland.
Marcus Stroman working into the 6th inning, leading 3-0, facing 2-3-4 Pedroia, Bogarts, and Moreland. Pedroia a ground out and a walk tonight.
They mentioned Stroman in his last outing really stymied the Houston Astros, who are the best hitting club in the American League. And during that outing, he snapped Carlos Correa's 14-game hit streak. And they were red hot. They had scored 12 runs on 14 hits on Friday night.
Barney from the edge of the grass.
He has shut down Pedroia, who's now 0-for-2 with a walk. So far, Xander Bogaerts is 0-for-2. These are two hitters that have really hit Stroman in the past.
This is just what the doctor ordered so far for the Blue Jays. Not only pitching well, but being efficient with his pitches as well. Maybe a chance to get really deep into the game.
Yeah, and it's always a benefit when your starter goes deep in the game in the first game of a 4-game series. That keeps as many bullpen innings intact for you. Boy, Stroman does such a good job of mixing up his deliveries. That time, basically from a set position, he threw strike one to Bogaerts.
Bogaerts tonight a strikeout and a fly ball. Quiet night for the Red Sox. Just 3 hits so far. We mentioned offensively they have not been good recently. Although they did split the series with the Yankees, they didn't swing the bats well. Leaving a men on base, not hitting well at all with runners in scoring position.
Chili Davis is the hitting coach, and he has had these guys swinging the bats well most of the season, but lately has been a little bit of a struggle to string hits together. And everybody looks to the lack of David Ortiz in the lineup, and certainly he was a focal point for the opposing pitchers throughout his career here with the Red Sox.
Well, Ortiz gone, Shaw traded, Moreland brought in, Sandoval, who was hurt last year, asked to be a part of the offense this year. I mean, you trade Ortiz and Shaw, and Moreland's having a good year, but Shaw's having a great year right now for Milwaukee. But just the loss of that guy right there. David Ortiz had one of the best finishing seasons that any player has ever had. Drove in 127 runs last year. He hit .315, hit 38 homers, had 48 doubles. You take all that out of the middle of the lineup, and it's going to be awfully hard to replace. Red Sox still a pretty good offensive team, but not nearly as fearsome as they were a year ago.
Now, and you know what, one of those big bats in your lineup, and Blue Jays are feeling the loss of Edwin Encarnacion. No matter how productive Kendrys Morales has been, Edwin's one of the best hitters in the American League, one of the best run producers we've seen in the last 15 years. And he's doing it once again after a sluggish start to his run in Cleveland. His numbers are starting to look a little bit more like we've seen over the past several years.
3-2 again, reaching for it, little pop-up for Barney out behind the bag, and Bogaerts retired 2 down.
Hit a home run with any project this season. Home Hardware, proud sponsor of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Bottom of the 6th inning, packed house here at Fenway Park, but what they've seen more than anything else tonight is a really good pitching performance so far from Marcus Stroman. 5 2/3, 3 hits, all of them singles, and in fact 2 of them infield hits, although one of those was hit like a rocket. He has walked 2 and struck out 4, and by and large has kept the ball down, gotten a lot of groundouts.
One double play back in the 2nd, and Mitch Moreland has one of the 3 hits. It was a ground ball through the left side of the infield when the Blue Jays were playing in a dramatic shift. And his first at bat.
10 of the outs on the ground tonight. Stroman checking with Chris Siegel, the home plate umpire, asking where that last pitch was. Siegel called it low, so it's 2-0 on Moreland, who's 1 for 2. Moreland came into the game hitting .378 over his last 14 games and 1 for 2 tonight, so that's up even a little bit further. You wouldn't have guessed he'd be the cleanup hitter on this team, though, when they acquired him. But again, the loss of Ortiz, somebody's got to fill in.
Remember, Moreland got off to a great start, hitting double. It seemed like every night he had a double, and he was well ahead of the league lead in doubles early on, and then that kind of dried up for him.
They were calling him Mitchie Two Bags at the beginning of the season. But now it's his teammate who leads the league in doubles. Should be Mookie Two Bags right now.
Yeah, Mookie's got 29 doubles, but he's 0 for 3 tonight against Stroman.
Three-two. Foul ball. That's off the foot of Moreland, rolling down to first. Stroman working with a good pace.
Oh, it's a perfect night to pitch.
Yeah.
Very comfortable evening here in Boston, and very little breeze.
Three-two again. Got it. Strikeout number 5. Very good inning for Stroman. We're through 6 at Fenway. 3-0 Blue Jays. Return from the DL tonight. 5 1/3. A lot of pitches, though. 4 walks. That at times has been a problem for Rodriguez. 8 strikeouts, but the Blue Jays got to him for 3 early runs.
First start since June 1st, and I think overall the Red Sox probably say, okay, that's not too bad. I mean, actually, he gave up 2 runs in the first. He walked Smoke, and he came around to score all the way from first on a double by Morales. But I think overall they're probably pretty pleased with what they got tonight from him.
Jose Bautista's probably pretty pleased that Rodriguez isn't in the game anymore, because he struck out in all 3 at-bats against Rodriguez. Faces Fernando Abad here to begin the 7th. Abad came on in the 6th inning and got the last couple of outs. Bautista, Martin, and Donaldson. Top 7 for the Jays. Inside, says Chris Siegel. 2 balls and a strike, with right-hander Heath Hembree now up in the pen for the Red Sox. 67 miles per hour.
That'll throw your timing off. That's not even batting practice speed.
Two. And the fastball comes in at 92. Probably looks like it's about 120. So a full count on Bautista here to begin the 7th. And the slow breaking ball, this time it's 71, freezes Bautista for strike 3 call.
Well, Rod drops that slow hook on Bautista. 71 miles an hour, and very difficult to stay back, pull the trigger after you see 93 on the previous pitch. This is a floater. Does it get over the plate? Didn't break an awful lot, stayed outside, but home plate umpire Chris Siegel rings up Bautista.
So Bautista now has struck out 4 times tonight as he makes his way back to the dugout. And the batter will be Russell Martin, 1 for 3. Singleton scored away back in the first on the Kendry Morales 2-run double. Infielders pretty much straight away on Martin. Outfielders slightly to the opposite field. So he's mixing speeds with that breaking ball. 67, 71, 78.
Yeah, we haven't seen this kind of slow breaking ball for him in the past. I've not really noticed him flipping that slow curveball like that.
Let's see if he goes back to that slow breaking ball now with 1 and 2. Fastball runs outside.
That's a hard pitch to throw with control after you're pumping up on your fastball at 93. I think it's really robbed him of his fastball command.
Martin pokes one to right field. Betts coming over, makes the catch.
Well, we talked about how athletic this Red Sox outfield is, and that looked like a sure double down the right field line when it came off the bat. Russell Martin's been swinging the bat very well lately, but Mookie Betts got a terrific jump on it. Another perspective of the right fielder. Betts hustling over quickly and grabs it before it can hit the turf safely here. Explosive acceleration, and he is a terrific outfielder, and he's given the challenge of playing that spacious right field here at Fenway Park, and he plays it very well.
You know, all the energy out here and attention is focused on the monster, but ask anybody around the Red Sox team and they say right field is by far the hardest spot to play here because of how big it is. Here's Josh Donaldson. Pops one up back of the plate. Vasquez is there. That's a quick 1-2-3 inning for Fernando Abad. 7th inning stretch at Fenway. Minnesota, bottom of the 4th at Target Field. Tampa Bay is in action later tonight against Oakland. Again, if the Blue Jays can win and the Orioles lose, and granted this is one very small step back towards where the Blue Jays want to get, but it would be the first time all season that they would actually look down upon another team in the American League East. The best situation they've had within their division is the situation they have tonight, tied for 4th. Unfortunately, in the big picture, they're further back in the division, they're further back in the wild card race, and they've been at most points this season. They've got a lot of work to do. There's no sugarcoating that. They've got to get really hot, really fast if they're going to make anybody believe that they can be a contender this year.
Yeah, you can't spin your wheels anymore. You've got to put together some winning streaks. And in 2015, it was a couple of 11-game win streaks that really propelled them into the postseason.
Hanley Ramirez leads off the 7th. Ground ball to short. Tulowitzki in time.
Happy 150th to our home and native land. Honda, proudly driving Canadians since 1973.
Well, along with Wrigley Field, the 2 oldest ballparks in baseball, 2 very special places. You probably came here for the first time as a young member of the Kansas City Royals, I would guess, maybe 1970 or thereabouts, 1969.
Yeah.
So.
There were no Green Monster seats. There was a netting high above the Green Monster. There were no seats on the roof.
Right.
No bars. There were. They would retrieve the baseballs that landed in the netting during batting practice, and all of that was new, and nothing that was there.
Well, that's why the ladder is there. You can see a ladder going up on the monster right above the line score. That ladder no longer serves any purpose, but they've kept it there. I think they actually took it off and then put it back on. They want it there just as a way to recall what used to be here.
I like the fact that it's back up there again because it's representative of what it was originally. And they've done a great job of updating this ballpark and keeping it intact. I mean, they didn't change the dimensions in the outfield, and everything is original. They did add the bullpens many years ago, but before I ever played here, they added those bullpens down there. They used to be, I believe, back in the runways.
There's a ball ripped into the right field corner off the bat of Andrew Benintendi. And this will be extra bases. He'll pull up at second with a 1-out double.
Well, Benintendi's been the one guy that's been able to solve Stroman. He is 2 for 2 with a walk. And boy, does he glide around the bases. Just a very classic left-handed swing, and then he gets it down into the corner. Bautista has to get over there and cut it off. No telling where it's going to bounce once it hits down in that deep right field corner. But this is a picture-perfect swing, and then that smooth stride around the bases as he turns it into his 14th double of the season.
There's Jackie Bradley Jr. Chopper to Smoke. Little trouble getting it out of the glove. Stroman doesn't have his foot on the bag, and everybody is safe. A potentially very costly misplay there by the Blue Jays.
Well, and that just shows you how precise the timing has to be to record outs in the big leagues when you've got speedy guys like Benintendi and Bradley involved. Just a momentary bobble by Smoke as he couldn't come out of his glove cleanly with it, and that threw off the timing. Bradley hustling out of the box. You can see he's busting it up the line, and there's that bobble as he tries to shovel it to Stroman, and he indeed was off the base. But because the timing was off, Stroman anticipated he would get the ball and then find the base, but he didn't get the ball, never found the base, and Bradley is safe. Timing is everything. And just the fact that Smoke couldn't come out of his glove cleanly with it threw off the timing, and the play blows up at first.
And it's been scored an error on Stroman for not getting his foot to the bag. At least that's the initial call, is E1. Either way, first and third 1 out, tying run at the plate now for Christian Vasquez. First error this season charged to Marcus Stroman. Crowd Making a little bit more noise here at Fenway. Stroman misses low for ball 1.
Remember, Vasquez hit that rocket over the head of Stroman, and Marcus got a glove on and knocked it down. Kept it on the infield. That was a line drive headed into center back in the 5th.
He's also grounded out. And Martin really had to reach back and make that catch. Vasquez didn't like the call at all. A lot of movement on that pitch, and Martin caught it a little bit awkwardly because of that movement, but it was still called a strike by Siegel.
He was set up outside, and you can see how upset Vasquez was. Martin was set up all around the outside corner, and the ball was all the way across the plate inside.
1-1. Stroman trying to preserve this lead here in the bottom of the 7th, nearing 100 pitches. And Vasquez fouls off a borderline pitch, now 2-2, as activity begins for the first time tonight in the Blue Jays pen. The just recalled today, Dominic Leone.
He's done a nice job for the Blue Jays this year, and unfortunately, because he's had options, he's been the guy that's gone back and forth on the shuttle to Buffalo. Stroman needs a strikeout, and look for that slider. It has been his wipeout pitch.
2-2. There it is, and Vasquez does well to get a piece of it. Good combination to a right-handed batter. The slider that sweeps away, and the two-seam fastball that runs in on the right-handed batter.
Yeah, you've got balls going in opposite directions, and that's always a challenge for a hitter. So now Martin will sort through his thoughts, and Vasquez did a pretty good job of getting to that last pitch. Probably a ball outside.
Coming in with a fastball. Too far inside, and the count is full.
Red Sox might start the runner at first base in this situation with 1 out.
Stay out of a double play if there's a ball on the ground. This is the loudest the crowd's been at Fenway tonight. Runner goes. High, ball 4, and the bases are loaded.
Pete Walker. He's going to go out and just help Stroman calm down in this situation. He's a double play from getting out of it. The bases are loaded, and no one throws more double plays than Stroman. But this is how quickly things turn around here at Fenway Park. A double, an air, a walk, bases loaded, swing, bound, different ball game. So you got to regroup, gather your thoughts, and have a good game plan as you challenge Brock Holt to try to get out of this situation.
With 1 out, Andrew Benintendi doubled this inning. He took third on an air charge to Stroman that allowed Bradley to reach. That might be the key play of the inning right there. And then Vasquez walks to load the bases. So the tying runs at first. The go-ahead run is at the plate. And here's Brock Holt, who's got 1 career grand slam to his credit. He's 0 for 2 tonight. A little bit tougher guy to double up. Left-handed batter, decent speed.
He hit that hot shot to Donaldson his last time up that looked like it might have been a double play, but Brock Holt beat it out at first.
One-0. Fly ball left center field. Pilar calling for it, makes the catch. Tagging at third, coming in to score Benintendi. Sac fly puts the Red Sox on the board. It's now 3-1.
So the Red Sox get a good at bat from Brock Holt, who picks up just his 2nd RBI of the season because of those injuries. But Pilar did a terrific job in the outfield by calling it definitively very quickly. They've had some mix-ups in the outfield recently, and as soon as he got the read off the bat, he shot his arm in the air, called for it, to get the attention of Steve Pearce, so Pearce could peel out of the way.
So the Red Sox get a run. The Blue Jays get another out. And now here's Mookie Betts. 0 for 3. A ground out and 2 strikeouts against Stroman tonight. Leone continues to throw in the bullpen. Stroman now at 102 pitches. This one is popped up right side and back out of play, and we could hear, I'm sure you just heard as well, Blue Jays fans chanting "Let's go Blue Jays" here at Fenway Park.
Yeah, they have great support no matter where they play, and the Blue Jay fans here are in pretty decent numbers turned out tonight. Stroman struck out Mookie Betts. Betts took a horrible swing on strike 3 the last time he was up on a nasty slider.
The 0-1. Misses down and away.
Now that's such a good sinker because it goes straight down. It doesn't run flat back toward the hitter. It just goes straight down. And Stroman's got that sinker working very well tonight.
On the way, and a bouncer foul just behind Brian Butterfield, third base coach for the Red Sox, and a familiar face and name to many Blue Jays fans, known around the game just as Butter.
He has been a very good coach for a very long time.
Huge pitch coming here. Can Stroman get Betts, strand a couple, and preserve the lead? Base hit into left field. 1 run in to score. Bradley around to score to make it 3-2. Vasquez stops at second as Betts rips one into left for an RBI single.
It is almost impossible to get a fastball by Mookie Betts. Remember, he struck out twice on nasty sliders, but Mookie Betts can turn on anybody's fastball. And he jumped all over that fastball and ripped it into left field to drive in the second run of the inning. And that's going to chase Marcus Stroman from this game. The air factoring in this inning as Bradley reached on the air by Stroman, and he comes around to score the second run for the Red Sox in this inning. But a strong start from Stroman. Leone just fresh up from Buffalo in
The Red Sox have scored twice here in the bottom of the 7th. It's now a 1-run game. Dominic Leone, just recalled for the minors today, into the game. 2 men on 2 outs. Dustin Pedroia is the batter. First pitch driven to left center field. Going to be off the monster. The Red Sox score 1 to tie it. Runner coming home. Throw on a bounce. The tag, and he's out. A great relay will get Betts at the plate as the Red Sox tie it, but cannot take the lead here in the 7th inning.
Dominic Leone throws the first pitch to Pedroia, who jumps all over it. Now you see the runners coming around, and Vasquez ties it, but look at Mookie Betts. He runs through the stop sign as Brian Butterfield was trying to stop him, and the Blue Jays cut him down at home.
For the 7th, Mookie Betts drives in a run with a base hit. That made it 3-2 and signaled the end of the night for Marcus Stroman. And then Dustin Pedroia hit the first pitch thrown by Dominic Leone for an RBI double.
Well, Pedroia is always dangerous. He doesn't waste any time. He got a high fastball, rips it off the wall to chase home Christian Vasquez. That ties it. But then a terrific cutoff and relay by the Blue Jays nails Mookie Betts, who is trying to score all the way from first. And it stays tied at 3-3.
Yeah, brand new ball game going to the 8th. New pitcher for the Red Sox, right-hander Heath Hembree. They'll turn Justin Smoke around to the left side.
Hembree, part of a very effective bullpen. Left-handers have given him problems this year, 350 average, and that's what he's dealing with right out the chute here with Justin Smoke.
Smoke, Morales, Tulowitzki here in the 8th for the Jays. Smoke is 1 for 2 with a walk, scored a run back in the first. Shift on with 3 on the right side of the diamond for the Red Sox. Brock Holt, the third baseman, has moved over to the right side, and the shortstop Xander Bogaerts, they just crisscrossed. Bogaerts going back to the left side.
It's interesting how they switch positions according to the count, and they will do that consistently mid at bats.
Smoke swinging on 3-0.
One of the very few times he will do that. He says he's not real comfortable swinging, but he saw something he liked there on that fastball.
draw the leadoff walk. Drive of the game brought to you by the Honda Checkered Flag event. Check out their all-star lineup.
In the first inning, with a couple aboard, first and second, as Henrys Morales rips one high off the wall in left field. And this is going to bring home 2 to jumpstart the Blue Jays on the night. Russell Martin had singled. He comes in to score, and then Smoke slides ahead of the tag, and Vasquez couldn't come up with the ball at the plate. For Morales, RBIs 49 and 50 on the season, and the Blue Jays jumped out to an early lead.
2 for 3 on the night. 3 for 4 on the night. Rips one into right center, a base hit. Bradley's got it, but Smoke can make the turn and head to third, and the Blue Jays in business here in the 8th.
Not wasting any time, and it's 2 switch hitters going back-to-back again. They hit back-to-back home runs yesterday in the first inning. Smoke with the leadoff walk, and Morales drills this into center field. Jackie Bradley Jr. does a heck of a job of getting over there and cutting this ball off. He got a tricky little hop and is able to corral it. Smoke goes first to third. Henrys Morales had a big night at the plate. 3 for 4.
Carl Willis back to the mound to buy a little time for the bullpen. Left-hander Robbie Scott has started to throw.
The last time these two teams met, in the first game on Friday night, June 30th, Heath Hembree came into the game in the 6th inning in relief and gave up a home run to Troy Tulowitzki. Tulowitzki is the batter now. You see the pinch runner. Carrera at third, taking over for Smoke. Kind of an interesting move here with nobody out. That's Robbie Scott, of course, loosening up another lefty. But Tulowitzki hit a home run against Heath Hembree at Rogers Center in that first of 3.
The Blue Jays take Smoke out of the game to get more speed at third base, wanting to do anything they can, play the percentages any way they can to try to get the go-ahead run home. Tulowitzki tonight 0 for 3. Infield is in for Boston.
What's new? Another tight game at Fenway Park between these two clubs. Blue Jays have lost 5 of 6 to the Red Sox so far. This is the first game this year here in Boston.
Carrera at third, Morales at first, and Tulowitzki's popped it up. Pedroia just to the right of the mound for out number 1. Big first out for Hembree. That'll bring up Steve Pearce, who's had a good night, including a solo home run back in the 2nd inning. Boy, do the Blue Jays have to take advantage of this opportunity here in the 8th. Here's homered, popped up, and walked. Looks like Hembree needed to give himself a little pep talk before he gets ready to deal with this situation. Ground ball hit at somebody. Red Sox can get out of this right now. Pearce trying to give the Blue Jays the lead back. On the appeal, he did not go. And meanwhile, there is activity now in the Blue Jays bullpen. Ryan Tepera is up. Ball 2.
Really interesting that John Gibbons chose to take Smoke out as a pinch runner with nobody out. But he's got to be thinking about the possibility of a fly ball to the outfield. Smoke doesn't run well. You think at least you can get a sac fly, and maybe Carrera, who runs very well, could score on a short sac fly. It's tough to take his bat out.
because there's a good chance it comes around again. This just being the top of the 8th inning. I would imagine Carrera stays to the left. Pierce can come in and play first base. Vasquez a little bit shaken up on this foul ball.
Not sure if he got his hand. Looked like he hit more on that shin guard than anything else.
3-1 on Pierce. Blue Jays with a great opportunity. 1st and 3rd, no out to begin the inning. Then the Tulowitzki pop up for the first out, but a hot hitter at the plate at Pierce. 3-2.
Well, you gotta get something in the air here. Get the ball off the ground. Get it to the outfield. All of the outfielders throw well for Boston.
Base hit into left field, and the Blue Jays have the lead back.
Boy, Pierce has come up with some big hits lately. None bigger than that one right there to give the Blue Jays the lead here in the 8th inning. A 3-2 pitch. He's able to drive it through the hole on the left side and pick up the RBI, his 21st of the season. A terrific at bat by Pierce as Carrera comes in to score the go-ahead run. That fastball out over the plate. He's been swinging a hot bat. We mentioned he had 4 hits in the Tiger series. Now John Gibbons going to make a move here. He's going to probably pinch run for Morales, and that's what it's going to be, as Goins will come on to pinch run for Morales at second. Morales, of course, the DH. Goins can stay in that spot. The Blue Jays have used 2 of their 3 extra men here in the 8th inning.
Only catcher Miguel Montero remains. 4-3 Blue Jays after they just surrendered the lead in the bottom of the 7th. And the batter is Kevin Pillar, who was 1 for 3. He doubled back in the 4th. So Goins at second, Pierce with a big night at first. And the Blue Jays looking to tack on here in the top of the 8th inning. Right over the outside corner, 0-1. Right-hander Matt Barnes has joined the left-hander Robbie Scott in the Red Sox bullpen. And it's all right-handed bats due up for the Blue Jays. One ball, 2 strikes now. The count on Pillar as he chased a breaking ball down and out of the zone. Remember the last at bat against Abad. Abad got ahead of him, threw him a fastball up and out of the zone. Pillar tried to check the swing but couldn't do it. Swing and a miss. 2 down.
Remember, he's that breaking ball to get Pillar to chase previous pitch, and saw good results with that. Pillar strikes out for a second time. That's just a fastball down and away, as Pillar just can't make contact. The breaking ball had set up that good fastball for the strikeout.
So now with 2 down, it's Darwin Barney, 0 for 3. Goins out at second. Pierce at first as Barney fouls one back over top of us, and it's 0-1. So it looks like Tepera will be coming on in the bottom of the 8th. The Red Sox have 3, 4, 5 coming up. Bogarts, Moreland, and Ramirez. And Boy, that great relay from Pilar to Tulowitzki to Martin looks even bigger right now. So the Blue Jays have gone back on top with a run here in the top half of the 8th.
Well, and Mookie Betts ran through the stop sign at third base, and Brian Butterfield had 2 arms in the air and right through the sign. Even good players make mistakes from time to time.
No 1-1 the count on Barney. Slow breaking ball down and away. The big hit of the inning, an RBI single by Steve Pearce, who stays hot. 2 for 3 with a home run and a couple driven in here tonight. On that fastball.
Oh, he's got a good arm. He just left too much of that fastball out over the plate to Pierce, and he was able to hook it through the left side of the infield. A hard breaking ball and a good fastball. But Barney's had a couple of hits and 3 at-bats against Embry.
Good job to fight that pitch off. Vasquez really active behind the plate. And now heading out to the mound.
Talk about this next pitch. Obviously a 1-2 count. Crucial point of the ball game. Just to make sure that Embry is on the same page.
Orioles now leading Texas 3-1 with the Rangers batting in the top of the 9th. Brad Brock is on to try to get the save for Baltimore. Orioles and Blue Jays entering play tonight with identical records of 42 and 49. Another 1-2 pitch on the way to Darwin Barney. And he got it. Back-to-back strikeouts to end the inning, but Steve Pearce's RBI single gives the Blue Jays a 4-3 lead. Time now again for a Blue Jays Central update. Here are Hazel and Greg in the Samsung broadcast studio. His own error was very costly in the 7th. The Red Sox score 3 runs there, all unearned. The error really mixing in the middle of that rally for Boston. Blue Jays get a run on the top of the 8th, lead 4-3. Turn it over to Ryan Tepera, bottom half of the inning.
Ryan Tepera's had a very good season for the Blue Jays. Because of that, he's been rewarded with some tough innings, and he's got a tough inning here in the 8th inning. He is 4-1 on the season. This will be his 41st appearance, and the right-handers haven't solved him at all. Left-handers not doing much better defensively. Steve Pearce moves in from left field to take over at first base, and the pinch runner Ezekiel Carrera takes over defensively in left field.
Xander Bogaerts leads it off 0 for 3. Bogaerts, Moreland, and Ramirez here in the 8th inning. 3-4-5 in the Boston lineup. John Gibbons asking Ryan Tepera for 3 outs and a chance to hand the ball to Roberto Osuna with a save opportunity. Every win tough to come by for the Blue Jays, and every win so meaningful if they're going to have any chance of getting back towards the 500 mark, maybe becoming a contender. I mean, it's not enough now to just win series. They got to go on a bit of a tear.
Yeah, they've got to string wins together.
Ground ball to third, comes up nicely for Donaldson. 1 down. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership, and it may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership. Bottom 8, Fenway Park, Boston. Opening game, 4-game series between the Blue Jays and the Red Sox, and it's 4-3 Blue Jays. 1 out of the bases empty for Mitch Moreland. It's a cutter right there that moved about a foot.
Yeah, he's got a terrific cutter. He throws it hard. It's 90 miles an hour. It looks like a slider. He's always had great stuff, and now he's realized how good his stuff is. And it all goes back, in my mind, to an extended outing in Anaheim in an extra inning game early in the season. He pitched 3 innings in relief and had success using his fastball. Faced all the hitters through the lineup, and I think that's what turned him around. Then he had another extending outing right after that, and that gave him the confidence to trust his stuff and challenge the hitters to put the ball in play.
Right now, John Gibbons feels he's got a number of different guys he can turn to in the 8th inning, although Danny Barnes has pitched a lot. He's pitched in the 8th inning. Might not have been available tonight to pair in the 8th inning. If Joe Smith comes off the DL, he can obviously pitch in the 8th inning. Joe Biagini can pitch late in the game. So in theory, John Gibbons feels like the bullpen is about to become as deep as it's been all year.
Well, Joe Smith did pitch in the inning tonight in the 8th inning in Buffalo. For Buffalo in Columbus, he threw an inning, had 2 strikeouts, threw 17 pitches and 13 strikes. So I think he's on his way.
1-2 on its way. It's up and away, ball 2.
J.P. Howell also pitched in that game. It didn't go so well for J.P. Howell. Didn't get an out. Gave up 4 runs on 3 hits and gave up a home run.
Been a struggle from the get-go, right from the moment the season began for J.P. Howell. 2-2, the count on Moreland. Got it. 96 on the fastball, 2 down.
Tepera's got the velocity, and he elevates that fastball and just blows it by Mitch Moreland. Moreland strikes out for a 2nd time tonight, and Tepera elevates this high fastball. You can see how late he was. The ball was past him by the time he got the bat through that zone. 2 up, 2 down for Tepera.
Now Hanley Ramirez, the Red Sox DH, who's 0 for 3. All 3 of them ground balls to short. The first one started a 6-4-3 double play.
Whoops. That'll put a little doubt in the hitter's mind.
Yeah.
You throw that ball in the other batter's box, hitting the dirt. That Guy just threw a 96-mile-an-hour heater past Moreland, and then he bounces that one.
Ball one to Hanley Ramirez, to say the least. Ramirez 14 home runs, 36 RBIs on the season. 4-3 Blue Jays, bottom 8 here at Fenway. Tepera growing into a bigger role in the bullpen this year. Danny Barnes growing into a bigger role. Things different than maybe the blueprint suggested back in spring training. It's part of the ebb and flow of a baseball season.
Yeah, it sure is. And bullpens especially take a while to develop their personality, but this one has sorted itself out very dramatically with Osuna terrific in the 9th inning. Tepera, Danny Barnes, now Joe Biagini's back there, Dominic Leone. They've got a host of guys that can close out games, but Osuna's throwing the ball as well as anybody in baseball right now.
Looking on from the bullpen. 1-2 on Ramirez. $36,144 at Fenway tonight, including what appears to be maybe 1,000, maybe a little bit more than that, Blue Jays fans.
A good turnout for sure. There are blue jerseys all over this ballpark.
One-two on the appeal, did not go.
John Gibbons obviously pleased with the start he got from Stroman. Marcus really dominated this Red Sox lineup until that 7th inning.
2-2 the count. In the dirt, a full count. What would you call here if you're Martin?
Fastball. It's a good fastball. I know that Hanley's a good fastball hitter, but it's Tepera's best pitch. We saw what it did to Moreland, a left-handed hitter. He couldn't handle it.
Crowd rallying in support of Ramirez here. Red Sox down a run, bottom 8. Three-2 on the way. Fastball fouled back.
97. Big situation. You reach back for a little extra. It's just the 3rd appearance for Tepera against Boston this season.
Ramirez waiting outside the box. He takes about as much time as anybody. Some young, anxious Blue Jays fans looking on here at Fenway. Another 3-2 pitch on the way. Line to Donaldson. Throws it across the infield. Didn't have to do it. The out was signaled on the catch. And Ryan Tepera gets the Red Sox in order. contest is on now. Enter for your chance to cheer on the Jays in New York City with WestJet. Go to BlueJays.com/WestJet contest to enter. Top 9, Blue Jays 4, Red Sox 3. New pitcher for Boston, right-hander Matt Barnes.
Matt Barnes has had another terrific season, his 43rd appearance of the year. He's 5-2, and look at the right-handed batter's average, 177. Since June 18th, right-handers are 1 for 22 against him. That's a 45 average, 0-45. The only one that has a hit, Steven Souza, had an infield hit on July 9th at Tampa. He has been nasty on the righties.
Jose Bautista leads off the 9th inning and takes a good breaking ball in for a strike. Bautista has had a tough night. 4 at-bats, 4 strikeouts. 4th time this year he has struck out 4 times in a game. That's the most in the majors. He has never struck out 5 times in a big league ball game. And Roberto Osuna, to no one's surprise, up in the bullpen here, hoping for a chance in the bottom of the 9th. We'll get a chance. Blue Jays up a run and looking to take the opening game of this 4-game series. Popped him up, and Bogarts backpedals to make the catch, 1 down. Barnes gets his first batter, and Russell Martin will come up. Red Sox will bring up 6, 7, and 8 in the bottom of the 9th inning. Benintendi, Bradley, and Vasquez. Martin tonight 1 for 4, singled and scored back in the 1st. Blue Jays got off to a quick start tonight against Eduardo Rodriguez. After the Martin single and out later, Justin Smoak walked, and then Kendrys Morales lined one off the monster for a 2-run double. 2nd inning, Steve Pearce led it off with a homer, and it was 3-0. And it stayed that way until the bottom of the 7th, when the Red Sox scored 3 runs to tie it. All of the runs unearned on Marcus Stroman's ledger because of a Stroman error. Well, the breaking balls, borderline pitches, and they both go Barnes' way.
Martin has really swung the bat well tonight. He was robbed of a possible extra base hit in the 7th inning when he lined the ball toward the corner in right. Mookie Betts made a nice running catch.
0-2. Fastball outside. The Jays got the lead back in the top of the 8th inning. Steve Pearce again, an RBI single. And that's where we stand right now. Blue Jays 4, Red Sox 3, top 9. Pearce a big night. Tomorrow night, Jay Happ is on the mound for the Blue Jays. Brian Johnson will get the start for the Red Sox. They've juggled things around because Doug Fister had to pitch in relief on Saturday. Happ 3-6 with a 3.54 ERA as he takes the mound tomorrow for the Blue Jays. 1-2. 57-footer there for Barnes, and it's 2 balls, 2 strikes. Yankees are trailing the Twins 2-1 in the 7th inning. Game is in Minnesota. Baltimore has won. They beat Texas 3-1. Rays just getting underway out in Oakland. 2-2. Got it. 2 down.
Barnes continues to dominate right-handed hitters. He's got Bautista to pop out and struck out Russell Martin. I mentioned they were hitting 177 against him. That's a hard breaking ball. Down and away. Martin swings and misses.
So now the batter will be Josh Donaldson, 0 for 2, and he's walked a couple of times.
Gets lost in this game so far is the fact Blue Jays have struck out 13 times.
Rodriguez had 8 in his 5 1/3. Fastball there, 0-1.
Yeah, you can see why the Red Sox are fairly confident with their bullpen right now, and as they try to figure out how to address their needs. I don't think that's an area of concern. Big arms coming out of their bullpen. That last pitch at 96. Bob was good in his inning and 2/3. Didn't allow a hit, didn't walk a batter, and struck out 2. Of course, they got the big guy at the end of their bullpen, just like the Blue Jays. Yeah. Craig Kimbrell.
Best way to beat the Red Sox is keep that guy out of the ballgame. Up high. You know, it feels like the Blue Jays strikeout totals have been high this year for their hitters. But they come into the game tonight having struck out 712 times. That is the 5th fewest among 15 American League teams. Just speaks, I guess, to how elevated strikeouts are all around baseball this year. Tampa Bay struck out the most, Houston the least.
Yeah, that's interesting. Tampa Bay with all those strikeouts, and they continue to score runs and turn into a pretty productive team. We kind of predicted they would be a pretty good team, but I think they're better now, and especially with the shortstop coming over, Danny Echeverria,
yeah,
really shoring up their infield defense.
It'll be interesting to see if they make a move. They're used to be, you know, they're used to selling off at the deadline. Will they make a move to bolster themselves? Bogart's charging, and Donaldson out to end the inning. 3 up, 3 down go the Blue Jays. We're going to the bottom of the 9th. Blue Jays 4, Red Sox 3, and Roberto Osuna on his way in from the bullpen.
Blue Jays on Sportsnet. Presented by Honda Side-by-Sides. For your love of the off-road experience.
And away we go to the bottom of the 9th here at Fenway Park in Boston. And one of the best, Roberto Osuna on to try to hang on to this 1-run lead.
Well, he made his first appearance after the All-Star game. And came in, did a great job. Osuna, 21 of 21 consecutive saves converted. 39th appearance of the season, ERA just under 2.
13 straight scoreless appearances as Andrew Benintendi leads off the inning. It'll be Benintendi, Jackie Bradley Jr., Christian Vasquez, Benintendi, He's 2 for 2 tonight. An infield hit, a walk, and then a double.
Osuna's done such a terrific job of commanding his fastball and then incorporating a new slider. He struck out Cabrera over the weekend in Detroit with a slow slider. Relatively slow, that is, at 82 miles an hour. He's taken a lot of velocity off it. And I asked him about that, and he said, I mean, this tells you about this 22-year-old. Cabrera can hit my cutter and my hard slider to right. So I needed to have some depth on my slider, so I took some speed off and got him to swing and miss. 22 years old, thinking like that.
Shakes off Martin a few times. Now has the sign he's looking for. And the 1-2 on the way. Got him. Looked like a changeup there for out number 1. Now for a preview of what's coming up next on Sportsnet Central. Here are Ken and Carly. All right, guys, looking forward to that. Guessing maybe Ken might have shown up groggy once or twice for work on a Monday morning, but that's another story. 1 down here, bottom of 9, as Osuna gets Benintendi on a changeup. And now here's Jackie Bradley Jr. Hits the ball hard to center field, but Pilar is back and has room. And just like that, 2 down now in the bottom of the 9th.
Osuna's pitching with so much confidence. He comes right at Bradley with that fastball, and he hits it hard, but right to the center fielder. Roberto got a chance to meet Craig Kimbrell at the All-Star game. And I said, did he give you any advice? He said, just have a very short memory. He said, you're like me. I got a chance to close very early in my career, and you've got to forget the tough blown saves.
It's Christian Vasquez. The Red Sox now down to their final out. 91 mile an hour cutter misses outside for ball 1. Vasquez tonight grounded out, had a base hit, and he's walked and scored. Blue Jays trying to take the opener with this 4-game series, and they're an out away. This one popped up back of the plate, and it will be out of play. It's a ball and a strike. With the strikeout of Benintendi, Osuna now has 49 strikeouts this year to 4 walks.
This speaks to his confidence. He's not dancing around the strike zone. He's coming right at you. And those are the numbers for his last 31 appearances. He's been on some roll.
As good as he's been the last 2 years, he's taken it to another level now. 2 down and the base is empty. Bottom 9. In the air to left field. Pierce on the edge of the track. Pereira, rather, excuse me, on the edge of the track makes the catch. And the Blue Jays will take the opening game of the series as Osuna comes on and picks up the save, his 23rd on the season. The final, the Blue Jays 4 and the Red Sox 3.
His 22nd consecutive save opportunity converted. And the Red Sox continue to struggle offensively. 3 runs all came in the 7th inning, and they're all unearned runs because of the Stroman error. Marcus Stroman was very good again tonight. 6 2/3 of 5-hit ball. Steve Pierce with the big hit, the game-winning base hit late in the ball game to give the Blue Jays a 4-3 win in the opener.
We're back with you tomorrow night. Blue Jays take the opener here by a score of 4-3. Time now for Sportsnet Central. Once again, back to the studio, Ken Reed and Carly Agro.